Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Byju's exam prep. Am I audible and visible? Anushka, good evening. Am I audible and visible? Brajneet, good evening. Yeah, thank you, Anushka. Thank you, Ankush. Good evening, Simran. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Yeah, thank you, Brajneet. Yeah, Gunjan, good evening. Yesterday, I had begun with the Delhi Sultanate. Just to recap quickly, I have discussed everything about the slave dynasty. But to recap till whatever I have done yesterday, the Delhi Sultanate was established in 1206. We have seen this. It was established in 1206, soon after the assassination of Muhammad Ghori. It was established by one of his generals, commanders by name Qutbuddin Aibak. And the Delhi Sultanate lasted for a total period of 320 years. That is from 1206 to 1526. A total period of 320 years. And during this long reign of 320 years, there were five dynasties. There were five dynasties: the Ilbari Turks or the slave kings, the Khaljis, the Tughlaqs, the Saids, and the Lodhis. The first four dynasties were of Turkish race, and the Lodhis were Afghans. The first dynasty, which ruled the Delhi Sultanate, has been called as the slave dynasty. But I have told you that it is wrong to use the word slave because only three rulers were slaves, but they had been manumitted, that is, given back their freedom even before they became sultans by their masters. So they had been given back their freedom by their masters even before they became sultans. Therefore, it is wrong to use the word slave. We can address them as Ilbari Turks because everyone out of the 11 rulers who were sitting on the throne in this dynasty, all of them except Qutbuddin Aibak belong to the Ilbari tribe of the Turks. Only Qutbuddin Aibak belonged to the Aibak tribe of the Turks. And therefore, we can conveniently address them as Ilbari Turks or Memluk Sultans. And I've told you what is the meaning of Memluk: a slave born of free parents. Memluk means a slave born of free parents. So we can call them as Memluk Sultans or the Ilbari Turks. It is technically wrong to use the word slave to address the kings of the first dynasty, which ruled the so-called Delhi Sultanate or Delhi Sultanate. It is called Delhi Sultanate because the kings of this dynasty or this empire took the title of Sultan. So they were called Sultans and they ruled from Delhi. And the Delhi Sultans established five cities in the so-called megalopolis of Delhi now. I told you the first five cities were established by the Delhi Sultans, and two more were added by the Mughal rulers, that is Humayun and Shah Jahan. So these are the seven cities of Delhi. The first city of Mehroli, built by or founded by Qutbuddin Aibak, also called Lal Kot or Kilai Rai Pithora. Then Siri, founded by Alauddin Khalji. Tughlaqabad by Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq. Then, of course, Jahanpana by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Firuzabad by Firuzat Tughlaq. So these are the five cities of Delhi. The first five cities founded by the Delhi Sultans, and two more were added to them by the Mughals. Humayun founded Dinpana, or what is called Shergarh, and Shah Jahanabad was founded by Shah Jahan. So, among the five dynasties, as we have seen, which ruled the Delhi Sultanate, the first four were of Turkish race. The first four were of Turkish race: the Ilbari Turks, the Khaljis, the Tughlaqs, and the Saids, and the Lodhis were Afghans by race. The Khaljis ruled for the shortest period of time, just 30 years, whereas the Tughlaqs ruled for the longest period of time, almost about 96 years. And of course, we have seen the city of Dhillikapuram, established on the ancient site of Indraprastha by Anandpal Tomar, in the 8th century AD, exactly 736 AD, and later it became Delhi, right? So we have discussed this. So let me quickly run through the first dynasty. Yesterday I have told you the story of the slave dynasty or the Ilbari Turks, starting from Qutbuddin Aibak till the coming of the Khaljis. Can we quickly recap the PPTs? Yesterday I have discussed and I have told you the history of the slave dynasty. So let us begin. All of you, can we continue? Okay, thank you, Ankush, Shakshi, Brajneet. So the first dynasty has been called the slave dynasty or the Ilbari Turks. They're also called Memluk Sultans. It is wrong to use the word slave because they had been manumitted even before they became sultans. They had been manumitted. Manumitted means given back their freedom by their masters. And I told you yesterday what are the qualifications necessary for somebody to be called a sultan in an Islamic state. So, but then we have exceptions to this rule. We have seen that. He should be a free-born Muslim with no physical deformities. He should be a male adult and he should have knowledge of the Shariat. But then we have seen many exceptions to this rule, and generally the sword decided the issue of succession. The first dynasty has been called as Ilbari Turks, and everybody except Aibak belong to the Ilbari tribe of the Turks. Therefore, it is right to call them as Ilbari Turks or Memluk Sultans. So let us talk about it. Aibak, Qutbuddin Aibak, he was the founder of the slave dynasty. He laid the foundation of the Delhi Sultanate after the death of Ghori. He ruled from Lahore. So he belonged to the Aibak tribe, and he was posted as governor of Indian possessions by Ghori. And once Ghori was assassinated, he proclaimed himself independent. But he never took the title of Sultan. We've seen that. He did not make any fresh conquests. Then he ruled from Lahore. Lahore in Pakistan, present-day Pakistan, was his capital. He took the titles of Malik and Sipah Salar. He never called himself as Sultan. He never called himself as ruler or Sultan. He took the titles Malik and Sipah Salar. He built the city of Mehroli. Mehroli is the first city of Delhi. Because of his generosity, he's called Lakh Baksh or giver of lakhs. And he's also called Akshar Baksh because he patronized a number of scholars. I'll come to that. So he died suddenly because of a fatal fall while playing Chaugan or polo. So while playing polo, he had a fall. You can see the picture of Qutbuddin Aibak's fall in this painting. So he had a fall and he died. And he was succeeded by his son by name Aram Shah. We'll come to that in some time. So Aibak built the oldest mosque in North India, the Quwwatul Islam Mosque at Delhi, also called as the Might of Islam. Quwwatul Islam means the Might of Islam. It's the oldest mosque in North India. However, the oldest mosque in India is in Kerala, the Chiraman Juma. And also he built the Arai Din Ka Jompra, another mosque in Ajmer, a mosque built in 2.5 days. Arai Din means 2.5 days. A mosque built in just 2.5 days or 2.5 days. Right? Then he laid the foundation of the Qutub Minar in Delhi. This was in honor of the Sufi saint belonging to the Chishti order by name Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. So Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiar Kaki, in his honor, he began to build this minar or tower. He could only lay the foundation, and this is the Qutub Minar. It was completed by his slave and son-in-law Iltutmish. Right? Now look here. If you look at the picture of this Qutub Minar, you see here on your screen, this is the tallest stone tower in India, tallest stone tower of India. It is 73 meters in height. And if you see here, if you look at the picture of the Qutub Minar very carefully, the first 3 stories, you can see here, the first 3 stories are of red sandstone. The first 3 stories, they are of red sandstone with flute and flanges. So you can see here on the screen, the picture of the Qutub Minar. And this design, you can see that you have a rib defect. You can see this. This is called flute and flanges. Flute and flanges. So that is the design on the first three floors or the first three stories. The last two stories are made of marble. The last two stories are made of marble. You can see here, this is marble. And they lack the flute and flanges. It is round in shape without those ribbed effect. Okay, and I told you it was completed by Iltutmish, the Qutub Minar, but then during the time of Firuz Shah Tughlaq, there was a lightning which struck the fourth story. Firuz Shah Tughlaq repaired the fourth story and added a fifth story to it. So the fourth and the fifth stories are made of marble. It is round in shape. It was made by Firuz. The fifth story was made by Firuz after repairing the fourth story. And the first three are made of red sandstone. What was the main purpose of the Qutub Minar? The main purpose was for the Maulvi or the Muezzin to call the faithful to prayer. But then later it was converted into a victory tower. I have told you this, right? Megha, why there's no webinar today? I will not be able to answer that. I'm only a teacher of history, so I'm doing my job. The back end team should answer that. All right, you please mail. I don't know why there's no webinar. So I'll not be able to answer that. Please ask subject-related doubts. How the class is structured. That is not in my hands. Okay, we'll move on. Now, so he built the Qutub Minar. Right? He laid the foundation of the Qutub Minar. Who? Qutbuddin Aibak. And then we have Qutbuddin Aibak, who ordered the writing of history of his period. So we have a person called Hassan Nizami. He was patronized by Qutbuddin Aibak. So Hassan Nizami wrote Tajul Masir in Persian language. This is the first official history of the Delhi Sultanate. So this was written by Hassan Nizami on the orders of Qutbuddin Aibak. What is the meaning of official history of the Delhi Sultanate? Official history means it is authorized by the government of the day to write the history of the period. So the government of that day is ordering the writing of history, the recording of important events of that period. So that's called official history, as opposed to unofficial history. What is unofficial history? Unofficial history is history written by private people. Nobody has authorized them. So some private person is writing or observing the important events of that period, and then he's writing privately. That's called unofficial history. So this is the first official history of the Delhi Sultanate called Tajul Masir, written by Hassan Nizami. Right? And then we have Aram Shah. Aram Shah was the son of Aibak. He succeeded his father, but then within a few months, he proved himself incapable, inexperienced, and therefore the military commanders, the Maliks or the Sardars, the military commanders, they pulled him down from the throne. They dethroned him, and they elected the slave and son-in-law of Aibak by name Iltutmish as the next ruler. So we have Iltutmish becoming the next ruler. He was elected by the military commanders. He was elected by the Maliks, elected by the Maliks or the military commanders, by the commanders, the slave and son-in-law of Aibak. So Shamsuddin Iltutmish. Probably Ankush. Sudhanshu, I have forwarded the mail. I have gone through your mail and also the mail of some more people, and I have forwarded to the management. You just give us some time, and we'll get back to you. As I told you, this decision has to be taken by the management, not by me. So we will sit together and then we'll soon, give you a feedback about it. So till then, please keep your fingers crossed and keep reading. Right. So here I said Megha, Iltutmish was the slave and son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak. Aibak was a commander of Ghori. He was not the son-in-law of Ghori. He was the commander of Ghori. Megha, right? So Shamsuddin Iltutmish was a slave and son-in-law. Son-in-law, SIL in short, I will tell, son-in-law. So don't get confused. And Iltutmish, um, he served as the governor of Budaun in UP before he became Sultan. He shifted the capital from Lahore to Delhi. We have seen this, and he defeated two rivals of his, that is Tajuddin Eldus, the commander of Gori who succeeded Gori at Ghazni. So Tajuddin Eldus and Nasruddin Kubacha. So both questioned the right of Iltutmish to rule from Delhi, and therefore that resulted in a war. And Qutbuddin Aibak was able to defeat both of them, Tajuddin Eldus as well as Nasruddin Kubacha. Iltutmish is considered to be the real founder of the Delhi Sultanate. He introduced the silver tanka and the copper jital to basic coins of the Sultanate. One silver tanka is equal to 48 jitals. One tanka is equal to 48 jitals. So this is the silver tanka and the copper jital, right? And then I told you, Iltutmish is the person who began to make land grants to his officers. Instead of paying them salaries in gold and silver coins, he gave them land grants called iktas, right? And the holder of an ikta came to be called iktadar. He came to be called iktadar, the holder of an ikta. His duty was to maintain law and order in that area, collect land revenue, and also act as a judge in that area, the iktadar, right? And the iktadar was transferable. He could be transferred from one ikta to another ikta. His position totally depended upon the blessings of the sultan. The sultan could make or unmake an iktadar. That is, he could even dismiss the iktadar from his job. So therefore, iktadar was only he was in charge of that particular area which had been assigned to him by the sultan, and they were transferable. He did not own any lands. Neither was his position hereditary, and therefore it differed from the Samanta system or the feudal system. So they were not Samantas, they were only officers appointed by Iltutmish, and they were also transferable. So I have discussed about that. Then Iltutmish is the person who established the Turkani Chihalgani or Chalisa, a group of 40 people, though they were not exactly 40 in number. They became the eyes and ears of the Sultan, they became his advisors. And after the death of Iltutmish, they became a de facto authority. A lot of powers was there in the hands of the Chalisa. They could make and unmake a sultan. And that's what happened after the death of Iltutmish, right? Then we have the first attack of the Mongols under Genghis Khan on your screen. So probably Genghis Khan looked like this. This is a picture of Genghis Khan, or Temuchin as he was called. So he was a Mongol warlord, from Mongolia in northern China. And he conquered the Khwarezmi empire, the Khwarezmi kingdom. In Central Asia, there was this kingdom called the Khwarezmi kingdom, and the prince was by name Jalaluddin Mangbarani. So he was defeated in battle by Genghis Khan, and Genghis Khan was pursuing him, hotly pursuing him to kill him. But then Jalaluddin Mangbarani asked for asylum from Iltutmish, asked protection from Iltutmish, but Iltutmish refused. Diplomatically, he refused, and thus he saved the infant Delhi Sultanate from a possible Mongol attack. Only after the death of only after the death of Genghis Khan, we saw that Iltutmish engaged in some conquest. He conquered Multan, Bengal, Bihar, and also reconquered Ranthambore and Mandore in Rajasthan. So till Genghis Khan was alive, he did not engage in any conquest. And after his death, after the death of Genghis Khan, he conquered a few areas. Then Iltutmish is the Sultan who applied for a Mansur or a letter of investiture from the Caliph of Baghdad, and he got it. So this was he was one among the three sultans to apply for a Mansur. He wanted the Khalifa to recognize him as the lawful ruler of Delhi. And three sultans out of the Delhi sultans, three of them applied and got a Mansur. One was, of course, Iltutmish. The second was Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and the last was Firuz Tughlaq. And the Mughals never cared for the Khalifa. They did not want the Khalifa to recognize them as the lawful ruler of Delhi. So Mughals did not bother about the Khalifa, but the Delhi Sultan, some of them wanted the Khalifa to recognize them as the lawful ruler of Delhi. So he was the one who began this practice. Then Iltutmish, as I told you, is considered to be the real founder of the Delhi Sultanate. He gave it a capital city, namely Delhi, a sovereign state, a fully independent state, a monarchical form of government, a currency, silver tanka and a copper jital, and a governing class or the Chalisa as such. Right? Then he considered all his sons as useless. He wanted his daughter Razia to succeed him to the throne. After the death of Iltutmish, the claims of Razia were set aside, and one of the sons of Iltutmish, by name Ruknuddin Firuz, was made a sultan. But then revolts began to take place. And when Ruknuddin Firoz one day went out of the capital with his army, Razia seized the opportunity. With the help of some Chalisa members, she ascended the throne and she became the ruler. And she ordered that Ruknuddin Firoz be put to death. So Razia Sultana comes to power that way. She was the only woman ruler to sit on the throne of Delhi. She ruled for a brief period of 4 years, 1236 to 40, right? And according to Minhajus Siraj, as I told you yesterday, she was blessed with all the qualities necessary for a king or a ruler. But then, unfortunately, she belonged to the wrong sex. And therefore, in the estimation of men, all these qualities were useless. So here she tried to create a parallel group of ministers who will support her. She appointed Jamaluddin Yaqut, who was a Habsi slave, an Abyssinian slave, as Amiri Akur. And when she came to power, she had many enemies. Ulema, the Muslim clergy, did not like her because she was not following the Islamic law. She would appear in public without the veil, without the burqa. She conducted an open darbar sitting on the throne. She rode the horse and the elephant. So she was not following any of the Islamic tenets. And moreover, she was a female. So the ulemas, the Muslim religious teachers, disliked her. She also was equally disliked by her stepmother Shatur Khan, and of course the Prime Minister Nizamul Mulk Junaidi. So she appointed Jamaluddin Yaqut as Amiri Akur, the master head of cavalry. He was an Abyssinian slave. Abyssinia is Ethiopia, the old name of Ethiopia. I told you this. And that angered the nobles because she was trying to create a parallel group of ministers or nobles who will support her. And revolts began to take place throughout the kingdom simply because she was a female and the male ego was pricked. So many of the Iqtadars did not like to bow down before a female ruler and they began to revolt. And she began to put down those revolts one after another. But one serious revolt took place at Batinda or Sirhind. The governor of Batinda or Sirhind by name Altunia revolted against Russia. So she went down. She went there to put down the revolt with along with Jamaluddin Yaqut. But I told you, Altunia killed Jamaluddin Yaqut and imprisoned Razia. Soon after Razia was imprisoned by Altunia, Moizuddin Bahram Shah, one of the sons of Iltutmish, was placed on the throne, and no effort was made to send reinforcements to rescue the queen or to release her from captivity. And she, being a very smart girl, she proposed marriage to Altunia so that she can extricate herself from that precarious situation which she found herself in. That resulted in Altunia, marrying Russia because he was also equally selfish. He wanted the throne of Delhi, and he thought that the best way to get the throne of Delhi is by marrying Russia. So he married Russia, and then when they were moving towards Delhi with their army, an army was sent, and then on the way she was assassinated. So that was the end of Russia. So there was an intense power struggle after the death of Razia. We have Moizuddin Bahram Shah, who became the Sultan. He was one of the sons of Iltutmish. I've told you that yesterday. He was one of the sons of Iltutmish. So he ruled for only 2 years, Moizuddin Bahram Shah. He was killed by the rival ministers who placed their candidate on the throne, another son of Iltutmish by name Alauddin Masood Shah. And he also ruled for about 4 years. So he was another son of Iltutmish, right? Alauddin Masood Shah. And finally, Nasruddin Mahmud, another son of Iltutmish, became the Sultan. And under Nasruddin Mahmud, the real power was wielded by a man called Balban. Nasruddin Mahmud, as I told you yesterday, was a peace-loving sultan, spending most of the time in spiritual pursuits, spiritual activities. He was very well taken care by his wife, that is Balban's daughter, and administration was taken care by Balban. So we have this book called Tabakati Nasiri, written by Minhajus Siraj. So Minhajus Siraj was a scholar patronized by Nasruddin Mahmud, and he was the one who wrote Tabakati Nasiri, which talks about the history of the slave dynasty. Tabakati Nasiri. So Minhajus Siraj wrote that book. Then Balban, a powerful noble, he was the de facto ruler. By fact, he was the ruler, and he was also made the deputy sultan by Nasruddin Mahmud. Right now, one part. Uh, how many wives Iltutmish had? I don't know about that, Hari. Exact number of wives we don't know, but those days rulers, whether it was a Hindu ruler or a Muslim ruler, they'll not have one wife, they'll have many wives. Having one wife was an exception, right? So don't worry about the number of wives he had. The queen, we have the chief queen who occupied the palace along with the sultan. The chief queen was there along with the sultan, and then you have women in the harem, a number of hundreds of women in the harem. And if the sultan wanted, he could, make anybody his favorite and make her his chief queen also. It all depended upon the sultan. It was his privilege, right? We'll come back here. Now, one aspect I forgot to mention is yesterday. You see, Balban. I have discussed about Balban in detail. So we have the steady rise of Balban. And when he finally became, deputy sultan, he also had become the father-in-law of Nasruddin Mahmud. He had given his daughter in marriage to the Sultan Nasruddin Mahmud, and that resulted in a lot of jealousy against Balban. So some nobles were very, very jealous of him because Balban was, he had become the deputy sultan. He was also a foreigner. He was not from India. He was from West Asia, and earlier he had been a slave. So you have a group of Indian Muslims, Indian nobles, Indian Muslim nobles. They joined together under their leader called Imaduddin Raihan. Please understand what I'm trying to tell you. So we have a leader called Imaduddin Raihan. These were the Indian Muslim nobles. So their leader was Imaduddin Raihan. Imaduddin Raihan. So they were trying to oust Balban, and they wanted to create a wedge, differences between the Sultan Nasruddin Mahmud and Balban. So they would go and tell stories against Balban. They'll try to create disaffection in the minds of the Sultan against Balban, and rumors were spread about Balban, unnecessary rumors by the Indian Muslim nobles led by Imaduddin Raihan. And it came to a point where, for a brief period of time, these Indian Muslim nobles in the court got Balban sent away from Delhi. So Balban was deposed, he was removed as deputy sultan, and he was sent away to his Ikta at Hansi in Haryana. So Balban had his personal Ikta at Hansi in Haryana. So he was sent far away from Delhi by these Indian Muslim nobles under Imaduddin Raihan. But they forgot the fact that Balban, after all, was the father-in-law of the Sultan. And the daughter of Balban will not keep quiet because there was no proof against Balban. Whatever accusations had been made against Balban were unfounded accusations. There was no proof regarding those accusations. So therefore, in a very, very short period of time, Balban was back in Delhi. The Sultan recalled him and again made him the deputy Sultan. And Balban saw to it that Imaduddin Raihan is sent away from Delhi. So Imaduddin Raihan was sent away to his Ikta at Budaun in UP. Did you understand? This was a UPSC question asked. So Balban was sent away to his Ikta at Hansi in Haryana, and later Balban came back to Delhi, then saw to it that Imaduddin Raihan is shifted out of Delhi to his Ikta at Budaun in UP. Did you understand whatever I just now told you? Hari, I've already told you a certain portion of the revenue, out of the gross revenue collected by the Iqtadar, he will deduct whatever is his salary and whatever are the money required for the expenses of running the Iqta. So the balance called Fawazil is sent to the king. Clear? Are you clear? Are you clear, all of you? Okay, Sakshi, I will repeat. No, okay. I said that there were a group of Indian Muslim nobles who were very jealous of Balban because of his closeness to the Sultan Nasruddin Mahmud. So they were creating rumors or spreading rumors against Balban, and they wanted to create differences between the Sultan and Balban and remove him from the position of deputy Sultan. And they got Balban transferred to his Ikta at Hansi in Haryana. But then Balban was soon back in Delhi, and he saw to it that Imaduddin Raihan was shifted to his Ikta at Budaun in UP. Did you understand, Sakshi? So this was out of pure jealousy. They did this, but then Balban had loyally served the Sultan for 20 years. There was no proof that he had worked against the interests of the Sultan in any manner. So the Sultan also understood that these are all unfounded accusations, rumors spread by the nobles and ministers who were against his father-in-law and Deputy Sultan Balban. Finally, as I told you, according to Isami's Futul Salatin, we have this contemporary historian called Isami. He writes a book called Futu Salatin. We are told that Balban, at the age of 65 years, he wanted to become Sultan. A desire arose in his mind to become Sultan himself in all respects. He was not happy with being the deputy Sultan, so he supposed to have got his son-in-law, the Sultan Nasruddin Mahmud, poisoned to death, and he became the Sultan. Right? Why is Balban considered to be the greatest rather than Iltutmish or Razia? Razia, definitely not. Razia was the only female ruler to sit on the throne of Delhi. So that was her only qualification, only credit as such. She was only female ruler who managed to become the ruler at Delhi. Iltutmish, of course, he consolidated the Delhi Sultanate. He is considered to be the real founder of the Delhi Sultanate as such. But then Balban is considered to be the greatest simply because um, of the um, of the fact that he strengthened the Delhi Sultanate in all respects. I told you, weakened the Chalisa and exterminated the Chalisa. He had a very strong Mongol policy. He strengthened the border forts of the border areas, built very powerful and strong forts. At the same time, repaired the old ones, posted experienced officers there. So that is another thing he did. And of course, he consolidated. He never went for extensive conquest. He consolidated the Delhi Sultanate and brought peace and order. So that is why Balban is considered to be the greatest of the Delhi Sultans. Right, Ankush. Now, so then we come to Balban. So we have discussed about Balban yesterday, the steady rise of Balban. Under Iltutmish, he was slave and bodyguard. Under Razia, he was Amir Shikar, that is the superintendent of the hunt or the master of the hunt. Under Nasruddin Mahmud, he became Wazir or Prime Minister and Naib Sultan, Deputy Sultan. So please remember these administrative terminologies like Amir Shikar or Wazir or Naib Sultan. These are all Persian administrative terminologies. Please remember them. He's considered to be the greatest ruler of the slave dynasty. So he strengthened the office of the Sultan and also restored the prestige of the crown. And he followed a policy of blood and iron. So what is the policy of blood and iron? That is, might is right. Policy of blood and iron means might is right. If you are strong, you're right. Might is right. Right? So blood here means violence. Blood here means violence. And iron means strength. So that is might is right. So he followed a policy of might is right. I told you then he took many titles. He strengthened the idea of divine right theory of kingship. That is, the king is the representative of God on earth. Oh, so he strengthened that idea. He took these titles: Dilli Ilahi, shadow of God on earth; Naib Khuda, regent of God or representative of God; and Nasir Amirul Mumin, the caliph's right hand man. So these are the various titles taken by Balban. He started the Persian practices, Sijda, that is prostration to the Sultan, or all the 8 limbs, that is Ashtanga Namaskar, as we call in Sanskrit, all the 8 limbs touching the ground before the Sultan, that is prostration. Then Paibos, kissing the Sultan's feet, and Nauros, Persian New Year. And on important occasions like the Sultan's birthday, it was expected by officers to bring gifts to the Sultan and greet him after bowing down before him. He also began to claim a blue-blooded line. Everybody knew that he was a slave. Once upon a time, he had been a slave. But once he became Sultan, he began to claim a blue-blooded line. We have this Iranian folk hero called Afrasiab. So in ancient Iran, there was a folk hero called Afrasiab, right? And Balban began to claim himself to be the descendant of Afrasiab. And then he destroyed the Chehalgani one by one. I told you many of the Chehalgani members had already died by the time Balban became Sultan, and whoever were alive were exterminated. He forced them to retire or he killed them, and he got them killed. Then he suppressed the rebellion of Tughril Khan, one of the Chalisa members, governor of Bengal, who rebelled against Balban. Tughril Khan was defeated in battle and beheaded by Balban, and Balban appointed his second son, Bughra Khan, as the governor of Bengal. He also brought an end to the depredations of the Mios, the robbers, the Mewati Rajputs, in the Mewat region, who were engaged in loot and plunder and also molestation of women, etc. So he restored law and order in that area by going into the forest with his army and hunting down the Mios and killing them one by one. Then he set up a chain of justice to provide prompt and unbiased justice to the people. So there was huge bell, a huge bell with a long rope attached to that bell, and anybody can come and ring that bell 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. Anybody aggrieved person, if they felt that justice has not been done to that person, male or female, they can come and ring that bell even in the middle of the night, and the sultan will come personally to the balcony, and he will address that person. He will ask him, what is the problem, why are you ringing the bell, who has harmed you, etc. And then he will inquire and give prompt justice to that aggrieved person. So justice denied, justice delayed is justice denied, as you know. So therefore, to see that justice is given, he introduced that bell of justice, which was hung very next to his palace, so that anyone would come and ring that bell and demand instant justice. Fine. Balban is the person who established the military department, the Diwani Aris, and also appointed a commander called Arisi Mumalik. So please remember that. Introduced a gold coin called dirham. So this is the gold coin introduced by Balban called dirham. Then he strengthened the forts of the border areas like Batinda, Sunam, Samana, posted experienced officers there. He also stocked enough food and ammunition in those forts so that the Mongols can be stopped at the border itself. In 1285, as we have seen yesterday, Prince Muhammad, Balban's eldest son, was subjected to a Mongol attack. He fought bravely. He was able to repel the Mongol attack, but in the process of doing so, he laid down his life. He lost his life. That shattered the heart of Balban, who was about 85 years old now. He gave a title to his deceased son, that is Prince Muhammad. He gave the title Khan e Shahid, that is the martyred prince. And then he requested Bughra Khan, his second son, to come from Bengal and run the administration from Delhi and become the Sultan himself. But then Bughra was afraid of his father, Balban, so therefore Bughra preferred to stay back in Bengal. Thereupon, we have Prince Muhammad's son by name Kai Khusro. He was nominated by Balban as his successor, and he died. Balban died. So once Balban died, we have the Kotwal of Delhi by name Fakhruddin. The Delhi Kotwal. Kotwal is the head of the police department. Kotwal means head of police of the city of Delhi. So his name was Fakhruddin. So he sent away Kaikushru to Multan. So he sent him to Multan and appointed Bughra Khan's son, Kaikubad, as the next Sultan. So Bughra Khan's son, Kaikubad, was appointed as Sultan. So please understand, please note down this. Kaikubad is the first Sultan. Please note down this. Kaikubad is the first Sultan to become Sultan when father was still alive. Please note down that. So nothing like that, Ankush. But after Balban, there is no future of Sultanate. No, how? Why do you say this? After Balban, there was no future of Sultanate. Definitely no. How did you presume that, Ankush? Can you Can you elaborate, Ankush? What made you think that there was no future for the Sultanate after the death of Balban? Okay, so Kaikubad is the first Sultan. Kaikubad became first Sultan, first ruler to become Sultan. To become Sultan when father was still alive. When father, who was his father? Bughra Khan. When father was still alive. Right. So, here Kaikubad, he was about 17 years old when he became Sultan, and he indulged himself in wine, women, opium day and night. He got addicted to wine, women, opium. He lost his health and he became a paralytic. Thereupon, his 3-year-old son, Kayumars, was placed on the throne. Kaikubad's 3-year-old son, Kayumars, was placed on the throne, and that resulted in the Arizi Mamalik, that is Malik Firoz. He was the commander-in-chief, Arizi Mamalik, commander-in-chief or Senapati of the Delhi army, commander-in-chief. He, along with a few ministers, killed Kayumars and Kaikubad and seized the throne. And Malik Firoz took the title of Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji. So Malik Firoz becomes Jalaluddin Firoz Khalji, and he established the Khalji dynasty. So this is where I stopped yesterday. Yeah, once Balban died, there was no capable ruler who could run the kingdom. Bughra Khan stayed back in Bengal. Maybe if Bughra Khan had agreed to listen to his father, if he had listened to his father and come to Delhi, maybe the slave dynasty could have prolonged for some more years. But then that was not to be. And Kaikubad, he was a very young boy. He was only a teenager, and he lost his mind. He indulged in wine, women, opium, and lost his health, and that resulted in finally the Khaljis coming to power. Are you there with me? Can I continue from here onwards? Yesterday I stopped here. I had given you the story, but today I have discussed the PPTs, and then we'll come to the Khaljis. Can we move on? Okay. Now, very interesting. The Khalji dynasty. Jaswant, yeah, why Kaikhushro was sent? Kaikhushro was sent away to Multan, so that is not there in Delhi. And all the power was in the hands of Fakhruddin, the Kotwal of Delhi. He was a very powerful, official. So he, in a virtually ran the administration. So he managed to send away Kaikhushro to Multan, and he made Kaikubad the ruler. Right? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Fine. Roshan, I'll come to that. Roshan wants me to tell the story and then discuss the PPT. Fine, Roshan. We will we'll do as you say. I'll do as you say. Okay. So let us talk about the Khaljis. What do you know about the Khaljis? If I might ask you, what do you know about the Khaljis, students? Whatever you know before I begin my monologue, huh? I'll tell you the story of the Khaljis. Very interesting. But what do you know about the Khaljis? Whatever you know, can you discuss? Can you? Okay, Alauddin Khalji was the greatest. Okay, then um, no, Afghanistan coming to the violent man. Alauddin was a violent man. Okay. Malik Kafur was his favorite commander. A cause for Johar, says Varsha. Okay. Jizya. Okay. Brajni says founder was Jalaluddin Khalji. Okay, we'll come back. Thank you. So you know quite a few information about Khaljis already. Very good. Now let's talk about the Khaljis. Now, among the Delhi Sultanate, the Khaljis ruled for a very brief period of time. They were the people who ruled only for 30 years. The shortest reign was that of the Khaljis. But then the greatest of the Delhi Sultans belongs to this dynasty, and he is Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin Khalji is considered to be the greatest of the Delhi Sultans. Now, the coming of the Khaljis is considered to be a Khalji revolution. It is considered to be a revolution, the coming of the Khaljis to power. Now, why is it considered to be a revolution? Simply because you see all the important positions earlier in the government and administration was held by Turks. So, on the basis of race, uh, all the Turks enjoyed important positions in the government, both in the civil and military departments. Now, this Turkish aristocracy was brought to an end by the Khaljis. In other words, merit became the criterion now, not race, but merit and ability. On the basis of merit and ability, people were given important positions in the government by the Khaljis, not on the basis of your birth. You just because you are a Turk, you don't get automatically important positions in the government on the basis of your merit and ability. And therefore, we have also Indian Muslims called Sheikhzadas, Afghans. They were also given important positions in the government. So that is very interesting. At the same time, uh, we have the ending of racial dictatorship. So, that, as I told you, you have the Turks who were virtually dictators earlier. So they ended the racial dictatorship of the Turks. They uh, opened up offices, both military and civil, to all people on the basis of ability and merit. And they brought about political homogeneity of India. So under the Khaljis, almost the whole of India was conquered, particularly by Alauddin Khalji. And that way, we have one huge empire being established, or one political authority ruling over a huge portion of India. So that is called political homogeneity. It was not heterogeneity, but homogeneity. So that was introduced by the Khaljis. Did you understand? That's why it's considered to be a revolution. The coming of the Khaljis is considered to be a revolution as such. So they ended the monopolization of power by the Turkish slave aristocracy. They put an end to racial dictatorship by the Turks, and they introduced political homogeneity uh, almost throughout India. The Khaljis were from this region called Khalj, right? They were from this region called Khalj in Afghanistan. So they were from Khalj in Afghanistan, and that's where the name Khalji comes from, or Khilji comes from. Now, as you all know, the founder was Jalaluddin Khalji. Malik Firuz, earlier he was called Malik Firuz. Malik Firuz. He was the Arizi Mamalik, that is the commander in chief, CNC, in short, CNC, commander in chief of the Delhi army. He killed Kaikubad and Kayumas along with some nobles, took the title of Jalaluddin Khalji, and ascended the throne, and thus established the Khalji dynasty. When Jalaluddin Khalji came to power, he was 70 years already. He was already an old man of 70 years. And he ruled for 6 years. He ruled for 6 years. That is still 76. Now, Jalaluddin Khalji is the person who believed that we cannot have a strictly Islamic state in India because the majority of the population were Hindus. So we cannot have Islamic law implemented in this country. Now, in those days, because majority of the people were Hindus, therefore we cannot have a strictly Islamic state, and he believed in that. Because without the consent of the governing class, the population, you cannot have Islamic state in India. So he was very clear about that. This Jalaluddin Khalji is the person who had, who had many daughters. Understand this? He had many daughters, and he had given his daughters in marriage to many officers. One such person was a man called Ali Gurshasp. Understand this? So I'll draw a map here. Okay. So imagine this. I'll write. Let me try to draw a better map. Just hold on. Please don't take my map seriously. I'm always told you. Okay. Now look here. So here, this is Delhi here. This is Delhi. And in the present region of Madhya Pradesh, there was one small area called Kara and Manikpur. Kara and Manikpur. And a person called Ali Gurshasp had been appointed as the governor of that area. Ali Gurshasp. This Ali Gurshasp happened to be the nephew and son-in-law of Jalaluddin Khalji. So he was not only his son-in-law, but also nephew. Right? So he was the nephew and son-in-law of Jalaluddin Khalji, Ali Gurshasp. And this Ali Gurshasp was a very, very ambitious man. Now, he wanted to become Sultan himself, but he never revealed his mind to anybody, Ali Gurshasp. Now, what happened is, Ali Gurshasp plundered Bhilsa. So, Bhilsa is another area in Madhya Pradesh, present-day Madhya Pradesh, Bhilsa, right? So, he came to know that there was a lot of wealth in Bhilsa. So, he attacked Bhilsa in Madhya Pradesh and he plundered Bhilsa, right? He looted Bhilsa. And entire loot of Bhilsa, he handed it over to his father-in-law, Jalaluddin Khalji, as a gift. Jalaluddin Khalji was so happy. Jalaluddin. So imagine, so he was ruling at Delhi, Jalaluddin Khalji, and the entire wealth of Bhilsa, the loot of Bhilsa, was handed over by Ali Gurshasp to his father-in-law, Jalaluddin Khalji. And Jalaluddin Khalji was very happy and impressed with his son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp. Now, after handing over the entire loot of Bhilsa, he did not take even one single penny from the loot of Bhilsa. So once he made his father-in-law very happy, he requested Jalaluddin Khalji to give him permission to expand his army, to increase the army size of his. So Jalaluddin Khalji told his son-in-law, go ahead, do it. You go and expand your army size. I have no objection. So Ali Gushab expanded his army, and because he had won over the confidence of his father-in-law, Jalaluddin Khalji made him commander-in-chief, Arizi Mamalik of the Delhi army. So Jalaluddin Khalji appointed him as Arizi Mamalik, Ariz-e Mamalik, that is commander-in-chief of the Delhi army, and as a reward, he also gave him the additional charge of Awadh in UP. So we have this area called Awadh or Audh, right? Audh or Awadh in UP. So Awadh or Audh was given away to Ali Gushap as an additional charge. So he was already the governor of Kara and Manikpur in Madhya Pradesh. Now he also was made the governor of Awadh or Audh in UP, right? So this way he had won over the confidence of his father-in-law. Now, what is the reason as to why this Ali Gushap gave away the entire loot of Bilsa? Understand this, very interesting. Now, we have this kingdom in Maharashtra, in present-day region of Maharashtra. There was one kingdom those days called the Yadavas. So imagine this is the Yadava kingdom, the Yadavas of Devagiri. So this is the Yadava kingdom, Yadavas, also called the Sevunas. They are also called the Sevunas. And what was the capital of the Yadava kingdom? Devagiri. Devagiri was the capital. So Ali Gushap's spies had brought some fresh news from him to him. So the spies of Ali Gushasp had come and told Ali Gushasp that there's a lot of wealth in the treasury of Devagiri. In the kingdom of Devagiri, there's a lot of wealth. And therefore, it is worth to be attacked and looted. So Ali Gushasp, once he came to know about this, he gave away the entire loot of Bilsa to his father-in-law. He never told his father-in-law the news about Devagiri's wealth. And he won over the confidence of his father-in-law, increased the size of his army, and his father-in-law also, I told you, made him the commander-in-chief of the Delhi army, Arizi Mamalik, and also gave him the additional charge of Awadh in UP. Now, once he came to know that there was a lot of wealth in the kingdom of Devagiri, this Ali Gushasp made a lightning strike on Devagiri. With his army from Kara and Manikpur, he attacked Devagiri, right? He attacks Devagiri. So there was an old king ruling over Devagiri. His name was Ramachandra Deva. His name was Ramachandra Deva. Ramachandra Deva, the king of Devagiri. Ramachandra Deva was defeated in the battle. And this Ali Gushasp looted the treasury of Devagiri. He looted all the wealth of Devagiri from the treasury. And he brought a huge amount of wealth from the kingdom of Devagiri to Kara and Manikpur. Are you there with me, all of you? Did you understand? Ankush, wait. Okay. Varsha, you have to be attentive. Please be attentive, Varsha. Everybody else has understood except you. What is your doubt? Can you ask me a specific question? Where have you got stuck up? Ankush is saying, sir, Khaljis are also Turks. So how can we say that they ended Turkish dictatorship? See, Ankush, here or dictatorship in the sense, I already clarified that part. On the basis of ability and merit, people were given jobs by the Khaljis. So Indian Muslims or Sheikhzadas, Afghans were also given jobs, important positions in the government and administration. Only on the basis of race, people did not get jobs in the government under the Khaljis. So in that sense, they ended the racial dictatorship of the Turks, which was the reality during the slave kings. Did you understand, Ankush? Looting, I told you, initially he looted Bhilsa and gave away the entire wealth of Varsha. I'm answering your question. He initially looted the entire wealth of Bhilsa, gave away the wealth of Bhilsa to his father-in-law Jalaluddin Khalji, won over the confidence of Jalaluddin Khalji, who made him the commander-in-chief of the Delhi army and gave him the additional charge of Awadh or Audh. Then, by that time, he had come to know the wealth of Devagiri from his spies. So that is the reason why he gave away the entire wealth of Bilsa to his father-in-law. And then he attacked Devagiri, looted the wealth after defeating the king Ramachandra Deva, and brought back huge amount of wealth to Kara and Manikpur. That's what I told. Clear? Okay. Now look, listen up. So, so here he brought a huge amount of wealth from Devagiri to Kara and Manikpur. Now, Jalaluddin Khalji was on his Gwalior campaign. Understand this, please. At this point in time, where is Gwalior? Gwalior is in Madhya Pradesh again, isn't it? So somewhere in Madhya Pradesh, we have Gwalior, present-day Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh. And Jalaluddin Khalji was busy in his Gwalior campaign, fighting in the region of Gwalior. And the spies of Jalaluddin Khalji brought him news. The spies of Jalaluddin Khalji, they came and told Jalaluddin Khalji, your son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp, has brought a lot of wealth from Devagiri. So that's what they told him. And Jalaluddin Khalji got very greedy. So Jalaluddin Khalji is supposed to have told his son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp, where is my khams? Understand these words, please. Where is my share? Now, out of the total loot, 20% will go to the king. That's called khams. Khams. Khams is 1/5. 1/5 of the loot. That is 20% should go to the king. The king share. Khams means king share. King's share. See, out of the total loot of Devagiri or any area they have looted, 20% of the total loot should go to the king. That's called khams. And the rest, 80% is called ghanima. What is ghanima? It is the soldier's share. That is 4/5 or what is called 80%. Okay, 4/5 should go to the soldiers. That's called ghanima, soldier's share. Soldier's share, ghanima. Did you understand khams and ghanima? Jaswant, just hold on. He was the governor of Kara and Manikpur, Ali Gurshasp. He was ruling there, right? He was the governor of that place. Already it was under the Khaljis. And he had been appointed as the governor of that place by Jalaluddin Khalji. Yeah, they were from Khalj in Afghanistan. Divya, they were from Khalj in Afghanistan, and that's where the name Khalji comes from, or Khilji comes from. Are you there with me, all of you? Did you understand till here whatever I told you? Khams and Ganima. Khams and Ganima, are you clear? Okay, now look here. So when Jalaluddin Khalji came to know that there was a lot of wealth brought by his son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp from Devagiri, he sent a message to Ali Gurshasp that he would want to have his share from the loot of Devagiri. That is the king's share, comes 20%. And Ali Gurshasp told his father-in-law, everything is yours. You don't need to ask me. You please come to Kara and Manikpur. You please come to Kara and Manikpur and I will give you your khams or king share of 20%. Now, Jalaluddin Khalji got ready to go to Kara and Manikpur. He could also meet his daughter that way, meet his son-in-law and claim the loot, his share of 20% and come back. Jalaluddin Khalji had some loyal ministers, advisors and loyal ministers, the Jalali nobles. They're called the Jalali nobles. Right? Very, very loyal to Jalaluddin Khalji. And they told their master, your son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp, is a crook. Don't go to Kara and Manikpur. He might harm you. So don't trust him because he is not worth to be trusted. So they warned him. They advised him this way. But Jalaluddin Khalji set aside their counsel. He, in fact, reprimanded them. And he told them, my son-in-law is a very honest and truthful fellow. You remember he had given away the entire wealth of Bilsa, the entire loot of Bilsa earlier. He had won over the confidence of his father-in-law already. So Jalaluddin Khalji neglected this advice and he comes to Kara and Manikpur to claim his khams. There, Ali Gurshasp murdered his father-in-law. Jalaluddin Khalji was murdered by Ali Gurshasp. Right? Now, the Jalali nobles objected to this, obviously. They got very angry with Ali Gurshasp. How can you murder the Sultan? But then, and they objected to this particular act of his. but then he had brought a lot of wealth from Devagiri. You know what he did? He bribed all those Jalali nobles. He gave them huge amount of wealth, whatever loot he had brought from Devagiri. And the Jalali nobles had never seen so much of wealth in their life. And there's a saying that even a dead body will start speaking when it sees so much of when it sees a lot of wealth. Okay, it'll open its mouth and eyes when it sees so much of wealth. So there's a quote, and then there's a saying, popular saying, in that way. So the Jalali nobles, after being bribed by Ali Gurshasp, kept their mouth shut. They supported him. They supported Ali Gurshasp, and Ali Gurshasp goes all the way to Delhi. He went and sat on the throne and took the title Alauddin Khalji. So Ali Gurshasp becomes Alauddin Khalji. He took the title of Alauddin Khalji. So this is how he comes to power, Alauddin Khalji, who is considered to be the greatest of the Delhi Sultans. So Ali Gurshasp becomes Alauddin Khalji. This is how he comes to power. Are you there with me? So this is how he comes to power. Now let me talk to you about Alauddin Khalji. All clear till here? Can I start? Alauddin Khalji. So Ali Gurshasp has become Alauddin Khalji. Yeah. So Ali Gurshasp was his real name. He took the title of Alauddin Khalji. Right, Jaswant? Now look here. When Alauddin Khalji came to power, he ruled from 1296 to 1316, a rule of 20 years. He ruled for 20 years. And when he came to power, he had two ambitions. One was to conquer the entire world like Alexander. He wanted to conquer the entire world like Alexander. Conquer the whole world like Alexander the Great. And number two, like Prophet Muhammad, to found a new religion. He wanted to found a new religion. So this is what Ziauddin Barani tells us. Ziauddin Barani, a contemporary scholar, tells us that he had two ambitions. One is to conquer the whole world like Alexander, and also to found a new religion like Prophet Muhammad. And Alauddin Khalji would not listen to anybody except an uncle of his. So he had a friend and also a mentor and a guide by name Alaul Mulk. He had a guide, a mentor, an old man called Alaul Mulk. Right? And this old friend of his would advise Alauddin Khalji, and he would talk to him, and he would discuss things with him. Alaul Mulk told Alauddin Khalji, "You are not a prophet. From bygone times, religions have been founded by prophets, and you are not an ordinary. You're only an ordinary man, not a prophet. Therefore, forget about founding a new religion." So this advice given by Alaul Mulk made sense to Alauddin Khalji. So he gave up this idea of founding a new religion. He gave up that idea. As regards conquering the whole world, like Alexander, Alauddin Mulk told him, "You first conquer India. You first conquer India, and then you think of conquering areas outside India." And this resulted in Alauddin Khalji beginning his era of conquest. This began his era of conquest. We are told that Alauddin organized an army of 4.5 lakhs. 4.5 lakh soldiers. This is the information given by Ferishta. Ferishta, contemporary historian, tells us that his army size was 4.5 lakhs. Nobody in India during those days had such a huge army as Alauddin Khalji. And this was a standing army. He paid monthly salaries to his officers and soldiers. And they were heavily trained, equipped, and waiting for the orders of the Sultan to attack whenever the Sultan wanted them to. So this was a standing army. And even if you take a figure of 3 lakhs instead of 4.5 lakhs, even if you take 3 lakh as the army size of Alauddin Khalji, it was a formidable force. And nobody in India during those days had such a huge army as this. So we have to discuss Alauddin Khalji in an elaborate manner. He is the most important personality in this chapter called Delhi Sultanate. We have to discuss Alauddin Khalji under the following headings. Number one, the conquest of Alauddin Khalji. We'll be discussing the conquest of Alauddin Khalji, the extensive conquest made by him. Number one. Number two, we'll be discussing about The military reforms of Alauddin Khilji. The military reforms. What are the various military reforms brought by him or implemented by him? Then we'll be talking about the revenue reforms. The revenue reforms. How did he increase the revenues of the state? And number 4, the market reforms. Market reforms. I might not follow this sequence, but then these are the topics which I'll be discussing as part of Alauddin Khilji. The conquest of Alauddin Khilji, the reforms which he introduced, like revenue reforms, military reforms, and market reforms of Alauddin Khilji. Okay, so this is the introduction to Alauddin Khilji. So let me go through the uh, uh, the story of Jalaluddin Khilji, and then we'll come to Alauddin Khilji. On your screen. So I told you what is the reason as to why the coming of the Khaljis is considered a revolution. They were from Khalj in Afghanistan. I've told you already. They were from Khalj in Afghanistan. They were of Turkish race. Though they were from Afghanistan, they were by race Turks, right? And they came from this region called Khalj, and therefore they're called Khaljis or Khiljis. The founder was Jalaluddin Khilji. So he became Sultan at the age of 70 years, ruled for only 6 years. And since majority of the people in India were Hindus, he believed that we cannot have a strictly Islamic state in India. That is, you cannot have Islamic law implemented in this country because majority of the population were Hindus. Then he crushed the thugs. No, I forgot to tell you this. So we have the thugs, robbers of Bengal, so who used to engage in loot and plunder. So he crushed the thugs. And Jalaluddin Khalji was of a peculiar, bent of mind. He was unpredictable in nature, unpredictable by nature. Okay. And we have this Sufi saint called Siddhi Mola. So there was a saint in Delhi called Siddhi Mola. And this saint called Siddhi Mola, he was a saint, a Sufi saint, a pretty popular Sufi saint. Jalaluddin Khalji got him arrested. Without any reason, he got him arrested and he got him executed. So he got Siddhi Mola executed without any charge. So he was of a very unpredictable nature that way. Then we have the Mongols attacking Delhi. Mongols, under their leader called Abdullah, attacked Delhi. Now, Jalaluddin Khalji defeated the Mongols. Then, after defeating the Mongols, he requested Abdullah and his Mongol officers to settle down on the outskirts of Delhi. In fact, Jalaluddin Khalji gave one of his daughters in marriage to Abdullah. So he got one of his daughters married to Abdullah and requested Abdullah and the Mongols to settle down on the outskirts of Delhi. And they agreed to. Some of the Mongols stayed back and settled down on the outskirts of Delhi. These Mongols came to be called Naya Musalmans, new Musalmans or Naya Musalmans. I told you Jalaluddin Khalji was assassinated by his nephew and son-in-law, Ali Gurshasp. Ali Gurshasp was the governor of Kara and Manikpur in Madhya Pradesh. And with the wealth he had brought from Devagiri, he bought over all the Jalali nobles and ascended the throne of Delhi and took the title of Alauddin Khalji. So Alauddin Khalji. Right? Can I start? Alauddin Khalji. So let us talk about the extensive conquest of Alauddin Khalji. First of all, let us talk about the extensive conquest. Right? Kara and Manikpur in Madhya Pradesh, Aditya. Kara and Manikpur in Madhya Pradesh. Somewhere in Madhya Pradesh, there was this area called Kara and Manikpur. He was the governor of that place before he became Sultan. Now, so first of all, let us talk about the extensive conquest of Alauddin Khalji. Now, so here he established a huge empire and brought major parts of India under his control, and he introduced administrative unity. He introduced administrative unity to this country under whatever limitations of transport and communication was there during medieval times. So we did not have great transport and communications during the medieval era, as you all know. So with all those limitations, he was able to introduce administrative unity throughout the country, right? And he brought major parts of India under his control. Now let us talk about his extensive conquest. Ziauddin Barani tells us that he had two aims. One is to conquer the whole world like Alexander, and the second is to found a religion like Prophet Muhammad. Right. Now, one more thing is maximum number of Mongol attacks happened during the time of Alauddin Khilji. So Mongol attacks began during the time of Iltutmish. Yesterday's class we have seen it. So Mongol attacks began Mongol attacks began under Iltutmish, began from the time of Iltutmish rather. It continued under Balban also, but the maximum Mongol attacks happened during the time of Alauddin Khilji. Maximum Mongol attacks. And Alauddin Khilji had a commander called Zafar Khan. Zafar Khan. So this Zafar Khan fought very bravely against the Mongols. In one attack, the Mongols came up to the borders of Delhi. They came up to the borders of Delhi, and Zafar Khan was able to repel this Mongol attack. But in the process of doing so, he laid down his life. Zafar Khan lost his life in repelling one of the Mongol attacks when they came almost to the outskirts of Delhi. So what did Alauddin Khilji do? He strengthened the border forts. He built new forts, strengthened the existing forts, appointed experienced officers there, stored enough food and ammunition so that the Mongols can be stopped at the borders. So maximum Mongol attacks happened during his period, and he was very, very successful in dealing with the Mongols. Now, before I proceed, look at here, the military campaigns of Alauddin Khilji. On your screen, this is the map which depicts to you the military conquest of Alauddin Khilji. First of all, he conquers North India. North India was conquered by him. And then he turned his attention towards South India. So let us understand the North Indian campaigns of Alauddin Khilji. What are the major areas conquered by him? First of all, the first attack happened on Gujarat. On your screen, Gujarat. So you don't need to remember the years. Understand this? You don't need to remember the years. Don't torture your brain. Just remember the places, right? Like Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor, then Malwa, then Marwar and Jalore. That completes the conquest of North India. 6 areas he conquered, thus conquering the entire North India. Gujarat was the first attack. He conquered Gujarat. Then he conquers Ranthambore in Rajasthan. Then Chittor, Mewar, the kingdom of Mewar with its capital Chittorgarh in Rajasthan again. Then, of course, he conquers Malwa. Then Marwar, Jodhpur was the capital, and Jalore in Rajasthan. So this completed the conquest of North India. First of all, he conquers Gujarat. Now, what did Alauddin Khilji do? He sent 2 of his officers, commanders, to conquer Gujarat, Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan. So look here on your screen. So the first attack was on Gujarat. So at the head of a large army, he sends 2 of his commanders, Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan. He did not personally go. He sent 2 of his commanders. Now, the king of Gujarat was Rai Karnadeva, or of the Waghela dynasty, or Karnadeva II. So Karnadeva II of the Waghela dynasty, he fought bravely, but he was defeated. And then Rai Karnadeva II ran away with his daughter Devala Devi. So he had a daughter, Rai Karnadeva. Rai is a title for a king in Gujarat. Rai Karnadeva II. So he had a daughter by name Devala Devi. So with his daughter, he ran away to Maharashtra. During those days, Maharashtra was ruled by the Yadavas. So let me draw a map for you. Okay, now look here. So this is Gujarat. So Gujarat was conquered by him. Now, this is Maharashtra. Let's say this is Maharashtra, right? And Maharashtra was ruled by the Yadavas. So the Gujarat king came running to Yadava kingdom. So that is Rai Karan or Karnadeva with his daughter Devala Devi. And they sought asylum under the Yadava king, Ramachandra Deva. The king was Ramachandra Deva, the same person whom Alauddin Khilji had plundered and looted. They defeated and then plundered his treasury before he became Sultan. So Ramachandra Deva, old king, he was still the king. So he gave protection to or asylum to Karnadeva and Devala Devi. Now, when the Gujarat king was defeated, his queen was caught, Kamala Devi. So Kamala Devi was the mother of Devala Devi, Kamala Devi. So she was caught. She was caught, and Kamala Devi was still young and beautiful. So she was sent as a gift to Alauddin Khalji. So she was made a prisoner and sent to Delhi. And when Alauddin Khalji saw Kamala Devi, he was smitten by her beauty. He found her very, very beautiful. And he married Kamala Devi and made her his chief queen, Malika Jahan. He makes Kamala Devi his chief queen, Malika Jahan. Malika Jahan. Not that she married voluntarily. If she had not married him, probably he would have killed her. Did you get me that? So Kamala Devi was taken prisoner and married later by Alauddin Khalji. And from Kamala Devi, he got a child. Look here on your screen. So from Kamala Devi, he got a son. His name was Shihabuddin. Shihabuddin. So this is so Shihabuddin is the uh, first sultan to be born to a Hindu mother. So Shihabuddin was born to Alauddin Khalji and Kamala Devi. Hello, are you there with me, all of you? So Karnadeva, on your screen you can see here, Karnadeva fled to Devagiri with his daughter Devala Devi. Queen Kamala Devi was captured, married by Alauddin Khalji, who gave her the title of Malika Jahan. Alap Khan was made the governor of Gujarat. Now, Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan went to Cambe. Understand this. They went to the port of Cambe or Khambayat. They went to the port of Cambe. Right? So when they went to Cambe, there was a slave market there. There was a slave market. And in that slave market, they saw a eunuch, a very, very, very attractive looking eunuch or transgender. So they saw a transgender or a eunuch. And Alauddin Khalji was a person who was having some weakness. One of the weakness he had was weakness for transgenders. So his commanders knew about it. So what they did is, because that transgender or eunuch was so good looking, they paid 1,000 gold pieces to buy that eunuch. Okay, so they paid 1,000 dinars. They paid 1,000 gold coins. 1,000 dinars were paid to buy that eunuch or transgender, and then he was sent to Delhi as a gift. When Alauddin Khalji saw this eunuch, he was so happy and impressed. And he gave a new name to this eunuch. What was his old name, God knows. But this eunuch was called Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur was a eunuch or a transgender. And Malik Kafur has been called Hazar Dinari. Hazar Dinari, because he was bought for 1,000 gold coins by Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan. So he's also called Hazar Dinari for that reason. And Malik Kafur was trained by Alauddin Khalji. So he trained him, and later Malik Kafur was sent to conquer South India by Alauddin Khalji. Did you get me that? All of you. Clear till here? Can I move on? Hello? Please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. So here Gujarat was conquered, right? Gujarat was conquered, and Rai Karnadeva can be called as the last Hindu king of Gujarat. Karnadeva was the last Hindu king of Gujarat. He was the last Hindu king of Gujarat. The next attack of Alauddin Khalji was Ranthambore in Rajasthan. Ranthambore in Rajasthan, ruled by Hammira Deva. Okay, so we have a scholar called Naya Chandra Suri. Understand this? So we have a scholar. Please write down that. We have a book called Hammira Mahakavya. Hammira Mahakavya, written by Naya Chandra Suri. So he was the court poet of Hammira Deva. So he writes a book called Hammira Mahakavya, right? Written by Naya Chandra Suri. in praise of Hamir Deva. So you have a huge army under Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan, same commanders. Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan attacked Nusrat Khan and Ulugh Khan. They attacked Ranthambore. And the Rajputs fought bravely. They held on to the fort for 7 months. They held on to the fort for 7 months against the formidable army of Alauddin Khalji. And then what happened is one of the commanders of Alauddin Khalji by name Nusrat Khan was killed by the Rajputs. So in the siege of Ranthambore, Nusrat Khan lost his life. When Alauddin Khalji came to know that one of his commanders had been killed by the Rajputs, he personally came to the battlefield. From Delhi, he comes to the battlefield to inspire his soldiers, and the attack was renewed. Now, 7 months had been a long time for the Rajputs. They had held on to the fort, and they ran out of supplies. They used to keep their supplies, a supply of ammunition, food, water, etc., which will last for a few months, maybe 6 months or 8 months or maybe 1 year. And then the Rajputs ran out of supplies. There was shortage of food, ammunition within the fort of Ranthambore. So they knew that they could not continue the fight. Defeat was imminent. Defeat was staring them on their face. And please understand, the first target of an enemy are women and children. During those days, that is a reality. Even now, that is a reality. Enemies will target women and children. Uh, Once a particular kingdom was conquered, they will commit all sorts of atrocities on women and children. And the Rajputs knew about this. So what happened is, we have the Rajput women kindling a fire. They kindled a fire. So it was an underground chamber. Already this underground chamber would have been built. And then all the women will get into the chamber along with their children. And then they will kindle a fire. And then they will burn themselves to death. So this is the practice of Jauhar. When Alauddin Khalji renewed the attack on Ranthambore, Alauddin Khalji was accompanied by a Persian scholar, a poet, more of a poet than a historian. His name was Amir Khusru. Amir Khusru accompanied Alauddin Khalji. When Alauddin Khalji came from Delhi to inspire his soldiers to renew the attack against Ranthambore. So Amir Khusru accompanied Alauddin Khalji, and Amir Khusru had never heard or seen this practice called Jauhar, mass self-immolation. And Amir Khusru, you have the Rajputs kindling a fire. You have the shrieks of women screaming in pain, and then the petrified smell of human flesh in the air. It filled up the air, the smell of dead bodies. So they were burning themselves to death. That is part of the practice called Jauhar Saka. It's called Jauhar Saka ritual. So Amir Khusro gives the first Persian description of Jauhar. In Persian language, he for the first time describes this tradition or practice called Jauhar. So what the women would do is, before they burn themselves, they will put their finest dress, whatever dress they had worn on the day of their marriage. On the day of their marriage, whatever dress they had worn, they wear that dress with all the jewelry, makeup, etc. Then they will kindle a fire, right? They'll kindle a fire, and along with their children, you have young children, pregnant women, young girls, boys, etc. They all kill themselves. The women will take their family and burn themselves to death. Then, so here, once all the women have burned themselves to death, obviously the men are emotional because everybody has lost a family member, wife, mothers, sisters, daughters, okay, cousins, etc. So everybody is emotional, including the king, the Rajput king. So there's a lot of pain in their heart and mind. So to withstand that pain, they'll become delirious, isn't it? So to withstand that pain, they'll consume alcohol or opium or bhang. And then what the men would do is, next day, they'll follow the Saka ritual. What is the Saka ritual? They will don saffron color clothes. They'll wear saffron color clothes, the men. Then they'll place a tulsi leaf on their tongue. They'll keep a tulsi leaf on their tongue. Then they'll smear the ashes of their dead on their forehead. So they have lost all their family members, mothers, sisters, wives, daughters, etc. So they will take the ashes of the dead of their family members. They will smear it on their forehead. Then they'll throw open the gates of the fort. And then, with a ferocity uh, rarely seen, the Rajput would fall. Rajput's army would fall on the enemy. They know that they'll be killed because it's like a suicide mission. They have come to get killed. But then, in the process of getting killed, they will want to kill as many soldiers of the enemy as possible. So this is considered to be an epitome. This ritual, the Jauhar Saka ritual, is considered to be an epitome of conjugal love, a love of between a husband and a wife, because the belief was that we will meet in another plane. The women and the children have killed themselves the previous day, and the next chance is of the men to die and meet their family members in another world. So this is considered to be an epitome of conjugal love, bravery, and sacrifice on the part of the Rajputs. So Amir Khusro makes the first Persian description of Johar. So the men followed the Saka ritual, and then, of course, Ranthambore was killed. Hammira Deva died on the battlefield. Thousands of women committed Jauhar, and Ulugh Khan was made the governor of Ranthambore. So Ulugh Khan, one of his commanders, was made the governor of Ranthambore. Are you there with me? This is the second conquest of Alauddin Khalji. Yeah, called Hazar. He called Malik Kafur as Malik Kafur is called Hazar Dinari because he was bought for 1,000 gold coins. Yeah. Then the third attack was on Mewar, ruled by the Sisodias of Mewar, or the Guhilots. Okay, so you have the Guhilot dynasty, or the Sisodias as they were called, the Guhilots. So the capital was Chittor, capital of Mewar, Chittor, and the king was Rana Ratan Singh. Rana Ratan Singh was the king belonging to the Guhilot dynasty. Now, please understand. Yeah. So here, yeah, this is never seen. Jauhar Saka ritual is not. It is unique to Rajasthan, Gunjan. You're from Rajasthan. That's great. It is unique to Rajasthan, and in no part of the world this ritual was followed except in Rajasthan and by the Rajputs. So they are called the sword arm of India. The Rajputs are called the sword arm of India. So we'll come back here. Now, we have this story. Some time back, a few years back, a movie came in Hindi, Padmavat, isn't it? Who's that? Deepika Padukone has acted as Rani Padmini, and her husband was, I think, Shahid Kapoor in the movie, and the villain was Alauddin Khalji. That is her husband now. I think who's name was what's his name? Deepika Padukone's husband. Ranbir Kapoor, yeah, Ranbir Kapoor. So Ranbir Kapoor was has acted as Alauddin Khalji. Now look here. So I presume most of you have seen this movie. Even if you have not, you haven't, doesn't matter. Now look here. When was the attack on Chittor happened? When did it happen? 1303. Look here on the screen. 1303 was the attack on Chittor. 1303, right? And we have a book called Padmavat, written in the year 1540. In 1540, so the attack on Chittorgarh, happened in 1303. But then the book Padmavat was written by Malik Muhammad Jayasi in the year 1540. It was written in 1540. Okay, almost after 200 years, more than 200 years. Now, and this is an imaginary story. Malik Muhammad Jayasi writes Padmavat, and in that book called Padmavat, he tells us the real reason why Alauddin Khalji conquered or attacked Chittor was to possess Padmini, Rani Padmini, who was the queen of Rana Ratan Singh. So she was the queen of Rana Ratan Singh. That's what the story says. So here I believe, what is the story of this Padmavat? The Padmavat story is like this. Understand this. I'm only telling the gist of the story. In the Padmavat story, there's a king. There's a king called, he's used the same names. Rana Ratan Singh is the king, and he was already married. And a parrot comes to him. Rana Ratan Singh is visited by a parrot. So the parrot comes to him, a parrot which could speak. And the parrot comes and tells Rana Ratan Singh, far away in the island of Sinhala, island of Simhala, that is present in Sri Lanka, there is a princess waiting for you. So this is a married man, like me, I'm a married man. So a parrot comes to me. So like it comes to Rana Ratan Singh. So Rana Ratan Singh listens to the parrot. He goes away, leaving his kingdom in search of that elusive princess. And he finds her, wins her love, marries her and brings her back. And he makes her the queen of his queen. So she becomes the queen of Rana Ratan Singh, Rani Padmini. The same parrot, understand this, the same parrot goes to Alauddin Khalji and tells Alauddin Khalji that there's a beautiful princess, the queen of Rana Ratan Singh, and that lady should be your queen, not Rana Ratan Singh's queen. So the villain in this whole story is the parrot, right? So this is an imaginary story. Historians don't give credence to this particular story. They don't believe this story to be true. Now, we are told that that Alauddin Khalji sent a message to the Rajputs, to the king Rana Ratan Singh. He told him he had heard about the beauty of Rani Padmini, I believe, Alauddin Khalji. So he sends a message to the king Rana Ratan Singh, stating that he would like to see his queen's face. And if he is allowed to see his queen's face, that is Rani Padmini's face, then he will not attack Chittor. So the Rajputs thought about it. After all, he wants to see the queen's face, and we could that way avoid a lot of deaths. So they agreed to allow the queen's face to be seen. So they arrange it in such a manner that Alauddin Khalji is invited to Chittor, and Rani Padmini is made to stand opposite a mirror. And at an angle, from an angle, Alauddin Khalji is allowed to see the mirror image of Rani Padmini, because Rajput women also wear veil. They wear the burqa sort of a thing. They cover their face and they don't show their face. Two strange men, strangers. So therefore, he was not allowed to see her directly. He was allowed to see the mirror image of Rani Padmini. So this is what is there in the story called Padmavat. Of course, historians don't agree to this story. It is a imaginary story. And please understand, Rajputs would not compromise the self-respect. They will not compromise their self-respect. They would not mind dying than compromising their self-respect. Anyway, it is said that once Alauddin Khalji saw the mirror image of Rani Padmini, he became more determined to conquer Chittor. He launched an attack. He launched an attack on Chittor. And then Rana Ratan Singh fought bravely, and he died on the battlefield. But before that, we have Rani Padmini with thousands of women who committed Jauhar. And you can see here on your screen. I put a picture of this on your screen. You see here, Chittorgarh's Jauhar Kund. This is Chittorgarh's Jauhar Kund. And this is the underground subterranean tunnel. I told you there was already beneath the palace, there was a building, right? There was a big, huge hall. And this is the hall. You can see the hall here. And this is the gate of the hall. So that gate is opened. And then there are steps going down to this hall. So the women will get into that hall and the gate is closed. Along with their children, even pregnant women will get into that hall and the gate is closed. And it is locked from outside. You cannot get out. And then the fire is lit. The fire is lit and the women will commit Johar. They will burn themselves to death. Right? And those who are left behind, sometimes some of them might not be able to get into that chamber. They will jump in like this. This is Chittorgarh's Jauhar Kund. And Colonel Todd in his book Annals and Antiquities of Rajasthan beautifully puts it. Look at that. Those are the words of Colonel Todd in his book Annals and Antiquities of Rajasthan. You see here, it's worth reading. Every time I read these sentences, there's a chill, in my body. My hair stand, roam khada ho jata hai. So it is so chilling. You see that the description of Jauhar given by Colonel Todd. He says the Rajput women, preferring death to dishonor, perform that horrible rite, the Jauhar, where the females are immolated to preserve them from pollution or captivity. The funeral pyre was lighted within the great subterranean retreat, that is the underground chamber. in the chambers impervious to the light of the day. So it's a dark chamber. The sunlight cannot reach there. In the chambers impervious to the light of the day. And the defenders of Chittor, behold, in possessions the queens, their own wives and daughters, to the number of several thousands. The fair Padmini closed the throng. So she was the last to get in, and then she closed the gate. Right? That's what it says. The fair Padmini closed the throng. They were conveyed to the cavern, that is to the fire, and the opening closed upon them, leaving them to find security from dishonor in the devouring element, according to Colonel Todd. So beautifully he sums it up. The tradition of Jauhar Saka ritual, unique to the state of Rajasthan, and that to the Rajputs. So Chittor was conquered by Alauddin Khilji. Rani Padmini, along with thousands of women, committed Jauhar. Uh, Chittor was renamed Khizrabad. One of the sons of Alauddin Khilji, Khizr Khan, was made the governor, and Chittor was renamed Khizra Khan. Malik Shaheen ran the administration. This is the conquest of Chittorgarh. And please understand, I have given you a few more explanations about Jauhar, some famous Jauhars which have taken place. Of course, one is, of course, Rani Padmini's Jauhar. I just now told you how it happened. When Alauddin attacked Chittor, Rani Padmini and thousands of women committed Jauhar. Another famous Jauhar is that of Rani Karnavati. You see, when I come to Mughal Empire, I'll talk about it. You see, if we have the first battle of Panipat, Babur conquered Delhi, isn't it? He defeated and killed Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat, 1526. Then in 1527, we have the battle of Kanua. We have the battle of Kanua, which takes place. This was fought against Rana Ratan Singh, Rana Sangha of Mewar. Rana Sangha of Mewar. Mewar, capital was Chittor. So Rana Sangha fought against Babur, and he was grievously wounded in this battle. And that brought about his death. After some time, Rana Sangha died and he was defeated by Babur. Rana Sangha had an army of 2 lakhs and Babur had an army of 40,000. So 40,000 Babur soldiers fought against this 2 lakh Rajput army. And because of superior strategy, techniques followed by Babur, I'll tell you that later, Rana Sangha was defeated and he was grievously wounded. And that resulted in his death. Rani Karnavati was his queen. So she obviously became a widow and she refused to commit sati because her children were small. So Rani Karnavati, she had 2 small children, 2 sons. One was Uday Singh the second. One of her sons was Uday Singh, Rana Uday Singh the second, and the other son of Rani Karnavati and Rana Sangha was Rana Vikramaditya. 2 young boys. So since these 2 boys were there, the mother refused to commit sati. But then we have around this time the attack of the king of Gujarat, Bahadur Shah, king of Gujarat attacked Mewar. And Rani Karnavati sent a Rakhi to Humayun. So Babur's son was Humayun. Babur had died and Humayun was the king now. So she sends a Rakhi to Humayun asking for help. And Humayun was busy in his Bengal campaign. He was fighting against Bengal. So he could not immediately respond to the help of, help sought by Rani Karnavati. He wanted to help, but he was busy fighting against Bengal. So he thought that let me conquer Bengal, finish this battle, and then come and to help Rani Karnavati. And Rani Karnavati got a message that he will be responding to her positively, but it will take some time because immediately he could not come. So she understood it will be too late by the time Humayun comes to help her. So what she did is she ordered 13,000 women got into a hall, a huge fort. They got into this fort. Then she ordered one of her servant ladies, to take these 2 children and take care of them. Because the lineage had to be continued. The royal family's lineage had to be continued. I forget the name of that servant lady. So this servant lady took away these 2 children of Rani Karnavati and Rana Sangha. So she escaped from there, from the fort. Okay, and then Rani Karnavati with 13,000 women shut themselves in a hall. And then there was a huge amount of gunpowder which was stored in that hall. She lit fire to that. So there was a huge explosion and all the 13,000 women burned themselves to death that way. Humayun responded. He came back. He came after conquering Bengal, but it was too late. He defeated Bahadur Shah of Gujarat and he replaced Vikramaditya on the throne of Chittorgarh. This is another famous Johar committed, which is there in history. So the description is given here. 13,000 women shut themselves with gunpowder, lit it and burned themselves to death. We don't, it's so bone chilling to hear and just read such things. Then we have another great Johar, which was committed in 1568 again by the rulers of Chittor. 1568. You see, this boy, Uday Singh II, became the father of Rana Pratap later. You see here on your screen, two young boys. Among them, Rana Uday Singh was the father of Rana Pratap. So he became the father to Rana Pratap. And later, Rana Pratap fought against Akbar in the Battle of Haldigati, isn't it? He fought against Man Singh. When I come to Mughal chapter, I'll talk about it. So here, in 1568, we have Akbar attacking Chittor, and the king was Uday Singh II. Uday Singh II was the king of Chittor, and one of his sons was Rana Pratap. He was still a boy. Rana Pratap was still a boy. So Uday Singh, what was the reason why he attacked Chittor? I'll tell you later when I do Mughal chapter. So Akbar in 1568 attacks Chittor with an army of 30,000. So Akbar with an army of 30,000 attacks Chittor. And Uday Singh had two commanders, young boys, 17-year-old boys, Jaimal and Pata. Jaimal and Pata. So they requested the ruler, Uday Singh, to escape. They told Uday Singh, please escape with your family and children, and we will fight against the Mughals. So Rana Uday Singh II, along with his children, including young Rana Pratap, escaped from the fort of Chittor. And Jaimal and Patta, with 3,000 Rajputs, they defended the fort of Chittor. They fought for a few days. And Akbar was very determined to conquer Chittor. He laid ladders. He put gunpowder at the base to blast the fort of Chittor and damage it so that they can breach the fort of Chittor and enter. So they had done extensive damage to the fort of Chittor, the walls of Chittor fort. And in the evening, Akbar noticed some officer. So somebody dressed beautifully. He was getting the repair work done. So the fort of Chittor had been damaged. In the evening, at around 6:37, in the twilight, workers were repairing the wall of Chittor. And somebody was supervising these repair operations. So when he saw the dress of that person, he understood that some important person is getting the fort wall of Chittor repaired. So he took aim with his gun and he shot. That bullet went and hit Jaimal. It hit the leg of Jaimal, and Jaimal fell on the other side of the fort. That evening, we have fire seen in the midst of the fort of Chittor. The Rajput women were committing Jauhar. They were committing Jauhar. And next day, Jaimal had plastered his wound, and then they came out fighting with the Saka. They were following the Saka ritual with saffron dress. So they came out fighting, and Akbar was watching these two boys fight. They fought bravely, and Akbar was so impressed with the way these two Rajput boys fought. But they were overpowered, outnumbered, and then killed. Immediately, Akbar ordered the construction of two statues of Jaimal and Patta, sitting on elephants made in black marble with their swords, with their spears. And that was installed outside the main gate of the Agra fort. When I come to Akbar topic, I'll talk about it. So these are the brave Rajputs and some of the examples of Jauhar, which I have put here in the PPTs. This is just to kindle your interest. So we have the conquest of Chittorgarh, right? So here Gujarat was conquered, then Ranthambore, then Chittor. Then we have the attack on Malwa. On your screen, Malwa. So Malwa was attacked. The king was Mahalak Deva, and we have all these forts which were conquered: Mandu, Ujjain, Dhar, Chanderi. So these are all forts in Madhya Pradesh region. So Malak Deva was the ruler. He was killed, and Ainul Mulk was appointed the governor of Malwa. So he conquers Malwa near Madhya Pradesh. Then we have the conquest of Marwar, that is Shivana, the kingdom of Shivana, ruled by Shitala Deva of the Paramaras. Then Shitala Deva also died in the battlefield. Women committed Johar, and Kamaluddin Kurg was made in charge of the fort. And Jalore in Rajasthan was also conquered from Kanera Deva, and campaign was led by Kamaluddin Kurg. So this completed the conquest of North India. Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor, Malwa, Marwar or Shivana and Jalore. That thus completed the conquest of North India. Are you there with me? This is the conquest of North India by Alauddin Khalji. Why do women do Johar? Pari, obviously, I told you the first target are women and children. Once a kingdom is defeated, now look here. Question is this: why would they do Johar? You see, um, let us take the example of Alauddin Khalji. If Alauddin Khalji's ambition was to conquer the whole of India, now he had a very huge army, and nobody in India had such a large army as Alauddin Khalji. Let us say the spies of some Rajput king came and informed that the Rajput ruler that Alauddin Khalji might attack their kingdom. There's an attack being planned, and we got this information. And this information is authentic information. So what the Rajputs would do is they will send away their women and children into the interior villages, into far away villages. They'll send them away because the first target would be women and children. So they'll send away the old, the weak, the women and children into interior villages, and then they will prepare themselves to defend their fort and their very existence. So they will stock enough food, ammunition, water, etc., which will last for, let us say, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, and then they'll strengthen their fort walls and they will get ready to defend themselves, right? And if Alauddin Khalji attacks them or any other Muslim ruler attack them, they will fight, staying within the fort. Like for example, we have Humayun. Humayun attacked Bengal a few times, right? Twice he attacked Bengal, and both the times he failed to conquer Bengal. What the Bengal rulers would do is the Ilyas Shahis. Ilyas Shahis were ruling Bengal during those days. They will shut themselves in a fort called Igdala. So Igdala was a very powerful fort with all food, ammunition, etc. They'll shut themselves in that fort and they will defend that fort. So for even after 6 months, Humayun could not conquer Igdala. So he gave up that campaign of conquering Igdala and he went back, right? Conquering. So both attempts failed. So they will try to defend themselves for how long a period as possible till the stocks last. Now let us say if there's a sudden attack. There's a sudden attack and they're taken by surprise. They don't know what to do. So they will, and that is the time when the women will commit Johar. They'll defend themselves, but then once they are sure that they cannot hold on to the fort beyond a particular time, beyond a particular point, women will commit Johar and the men will follow the Saka ritual. So that's why the Johar was followed, because that is to save themselves from, to save their self-respect and honor, right? Self-respect and honor. That's the reason why the women perform Johar. Yes, obviously, because they don't want to be dishonored by others. That is true. Okay, clear. So this is the conquest of North India. Then we have Alauddin Khalji conquering South India, and he sent his favorite officer, his favorite officer, a man who had all the qualifications and the talent to do the job for him. That is Malik Kafur, who was incidentally a eunuch. Now we have this book called Khazainul Futu, written by Amir Khusru. Amir Khusru writes this book, Khazainul Futu, which gives us the details of Alauddin Khalji's conquest of South India. So the book Khazain al-Futu, you can see here, Khazain al-Futu. That's the book which gives information about the conquest of South India by Alauddin Khalji. So what was the main reason? Understand this. What was the main reason as to why he attacked South India? The main reason was Alauddin Khalji knew that there was a lot of wealth in South India. What is the reason? Obviously, we have the Vindhya mountains, which gave a sense of security to the people of the south. So whatever attacks happened from the northwest happened on North India. South India was pretty safe that way from attacks from the northwest. And because of the distance also, it was difficult for the invaders to attack South India. And also you have the impregnable, the Vindhya mountains was there. So difficult to cross them and come to this side of the country. At the same time, you have a lot of wealth in the kingdoms of the south. There was flourishing trade through the three oceans. So a lot of wealth was flowing into the kingdoms of the south. And Alauddin Khalji had plundered Devagiri, remember, and with that wealth, he had become the ruler at Delhi. He had bribed all the Jalali nobles with the wealth he had brought from Devagiri. So Alauddin had come to know that there's a lot of wealth in the south, and he wanted to loot this wealth. That was the main aim. Now look here, Alauddin Khalji was a very practical person, very, very practical man. He told Malik Kafur, you attack the kingdoms of the south. Don't kill the kings. Don't kill them. You defeat them in war and you give them a choice. What is the choice you give them? You tell them that they should give certain amount of tribute to Delhi. Every year, certain amount of money as a tribute should be sent to Delhi, the capital of Alauddin. And secondly, they should accept Alauddin as their overlord. If they agree to these two conditions, you don't kill them, you give back their kingdom back to them. That is the condition which Alauddin put on Malik Kafur. And true to that, Malik Kafur acted. He did not kill those kings. He defeated all the three. We'll come to that. We'll come to the conquest of Malik Kafur, the campaigns of Alauddin Khilji in the south. So we'll come to that in some time. Now look here. So we have. So if I begin the conquest of South India in 10 minutes, I'll not be able to finish it. Can we go for a break now, so that there's a continuity in the class? Can we go for a break of 15 minutes and come back? So we can start at 7:05 and continue the story of Alauddin Khilji, because I'll not be able to discuss the southern campaigns of Alauddin Khilji in 10 minutes. I want continuity in the story. Okay, so we'll come back at 7:05 and we'll continue. Carry on. Okay, Ankush, you come 1 minute late, Ankush. 7:06 he wants to come. Fine. You come 1 minute late. I'm starting at 7:05. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Can we continue? Is everybody back? Hello. Can we continue? Yeah. Good evening, Brajneet, Roshan. What about others? All are back? Right. Now, once North India was conquered, Alauddin Khalji chose Malik Kafur to conquer the rest of India, that is South India. And as I told you before the break, he specifically instructed Malik Kafur to not kill the rulers, only defeat them, and if they agree to pay tribute and accept him as their overlord, give back their kingdoms, return back their kingdoms back to them, and then come back. So here, Malik Kafur accordingly did that. Now let us look at the conquest of Malik Kafur, the general of Alauddin Khalji. Now on your screen. Now, if you look at this attacks of Malik Kafur, this is North End, this is Maharashtra, isn't it? Then this is Andhra, this is Tamil, this is Karnataka, and this is Tamil Nadu. So this is how the attack took place. Understand this? This is number 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here, Maharashtra, then Andhra, then Karnataka, then Tamil Nadu. That is the um, direction of attack, or rather the sequence of attacks. Did you understand? That is a sequence of attacks. So first of all, we have Maharashtra, ruled by the Yadavas. King. Yadava king. Yadavas were ruling with Devagiri has capital. Yadavas of Devagiri. So Devagiri was the capital of the Yadavas. Then we have the Kakatiyas. These are the Kakatiyas. Kakatiyas ruling from Warangal. Then this is the Hoysalas ruling over Karnataka those days. Hoysalas. And then we have the Pandyas. Now, Malik Kafur with a large army, understand this, Malik Kafur with a large army attacked the kingdom of the Yadavas. Who was the king? Ramachandra Deva. The king was, I'll write in short, R.C. Deva, Ramachandra Deva. Now, Ramachandra Deva fought bravely. He was an old king, but he was defeated. And the Gujarat king was also killed in this battle. You remember Gujarat king? He had taken shelter here. What was the name of the Gujarat king? What was the name of the Gujarat king? Rai Karan, isn't it? Rai Karnadeva. Yeah. So Rai Karnadeva, he had run away with his daughter Devala Devi. Now Rai Karnadeva was killed. In this battle, Rai Karnadeva was killed. Devala Devi was captured. The daughter of Kamala Devi and Rai Karnadeva. And Devala Devi was sent as a gift to Alauddin. She was made a captive and sent to North India. And Devala Devi was married by a son of Alauddin Khalji. That is Khizar Khan. Khizar Khan married her. Khizar Khan married the daughter of Kamala Devi, namely Devala Devi. So mother was married by Alauddin Khalji, daughter was married by Alauddin's son, that is Khizar Khan. So Ramachandra Deva was taken captive. Understand this. He was made a prisoner and he was taken to Delhi. Ramachandra Deva was defeated, made a prisoner of war, and taken to Delhi. And we are told that Alauddin Khalji treated him with respect. He treated him with respect, and he took care of him well, though he was a prisoner under him. Now, after being in Delhi for some time, Ramachandra Deva had a change of mind, and then he told Alauddin Khalji that he would like to give his daughter in marriage to him. Alauddin Khalji was very, very impressed. So, who was the daughter of Ramachandra Deva? A girl by name Jatyapali. Jatyapali. So she was given in marriage by Ramachandra Deva to Alauddin Khalji. So Alauddin Khalji was indeed impressed. So he released Ramachandra Deva. He asked him to go back. So Ramachandra Deva was asked to go back to his kingdom. Ramachandra Deva was given a title, Rai Rayan. Understand this. He was given a title called Rai Rayan. He was given 1 lakh gold pieces as a reward. 1 lakh gold coins were given as a reward, and the Gujarat district of Navsari, Navsari in Gujarat was given as a reward by Alauddin Khalji. And as Ramachandra Deva became an ally of Alauddin Khalji, he became a friend of Alauddin Khalji. Did you understand? Are you there with me? So here, first attack was on Megha. You're asking me to repeat. So here, I told you, you have Malik Kafur sent by Alauddin Khalji to conquer South India. The first kingdom to be attacked was the Yadava kingdom, ruled by Ramachandra Deva. He was defeated in battle. He was made a prisoner and sent to Delhi. The Gujarat king lost his life. Karnadeva had taken shelter there. So Karnadeva was killed in the battle. Devala Devi was taken captive and sent to Delhi. And Alauddin Khalji's another son by name Khizr Khan. Khizr Khan, you remember, he had been made the governor of Chittor, and Chittor had been renamed Khizrabad. So same person, Khizr Khan, married Devala Devi, right? And then Ramachandra Deva was treated well by Alauddin Khalji. He agreed to give his daughter in marriage to Alauddin Khalji by name Jatyapali. So Alauddin Khalji married Jatyapali. He was very, very happy. He released Ramachandra Deva from captivity. Before that, he gave him a title called Rai Rayan. Rai Rayan. The Gujarat district of Navsari has a gift and 1 lakh gold coins as a reward. Right? So this is not a marriage. Yeah, you can say that. You can say, see, this is what will the Delhi army do? Alauddin Khalji's king army do? They might engage in loot and plunder, and that would also involve molestation of women. So here you can say Jatipali, the king agreed to give his daughter to save the rest of his people of his kingdom. So it is a sacrifice on the part of Jatyapali. It was not that she willingly married or happily married Alauddin Khalji. It would be a sacrifice on the part of that poor girl. Anyway, Devagiri acted as a base for further military inroads of the Khaljis into the south. Understand this? Devagiri acted as a base for further military operations of the Khaljis into the south. Ramachandra Deva had become a ally of Alauddin Khalji. So what will happen? The Delhi army will come. The army of Alauddin Khalji will come to the south, and the Ramachandra Deva will play host. He will host the army. So they will take rest there. They will drink. They'll eat their food. They'll replenish their resources, right? And then by that time, Ramachandra Deva's spies will fan out in the rest of the kingdoms of the south, and they will collect information and they will bring it to Ramachandra Deva, and that information is shared by Ramachandra Deva with the Delhi commander Malik Kafur. So that way, Devagiri acted as a base for further military inroads of the Khaljis into the south. Did you understand what I just now told you? Yeah, Khizr Khan married the daughter of Kamala Devi, Devala Devi. Dashwan, did you get me that? Then the next attack happened on the Kakatiyas. Understand this? So next to Maharashtra is Andhra. So this is number 2, I have told you. So the Kakatiyas were ruling, and who was the king of the Kakatiyas? Pratapa Rudra II. Pratapa Rudradeva. Pratapa Rudra. Pratapa Rudra Deva II. He was the king. He fought bravely, but he was defeated by Malik Kafur, and he agreed to pay tribute and accept Alauddin as his overlord. So once that happened, we have either way Malik Kafur looting and plundering the Kakatiya kingdom. It was a very, very rich and prosperous kingdom, the Kakatiya kingdom. So he looted that kingdom. And if you go to Warangal, I have gone to Warangal as a visitor, as a traveler. So you can see the large-scale destruction of Warangal done by the Delhi army of Malik Kafur. And on 1,000 camels, we are told that on 1,000 camels, he carried away huge amount of wealth from the kingdom of Kakatiyas to via Devagiri to Delhi. And these camels were groaning, were screaming under the weight of wealth put on their backs. So huge amount of wealth from the Kakatiya kingdom was carried away to Delhi by Malik Kafur via Devagiri. Either way, Pratapa Deva II agreed to pay tribute and accepted Alauddin as his overlord. This is the second attack. The third target was the Hoysalas. Hoysalas were ruled by their king Veeraballala III. The king was Veeraballala III. He also fought bravely, but he was defeated, and he agreed to pay tribute to Delhi and accept Alauddin as his overlord. And again, we have some destruction of the Hoysala temples seen in Belur and Halebid. If you go to Belur, Halebid, you see some temples have been left incomplete because that is the time when the attack happened. So the workers ran away, and the temple remains incomplete. Some of the temples built by the Hoysalas. So again, the Hoysala kingdom lost its strength and vitality because huge amount of wealth was carried away from the Hoysala kingdom by Malik Kafur. So Maharashtra, then Andhra, then Karnataka. Then we have Tamil Nadu, the attack on Tamil Nadu. So in the Pandya kingdom, there was a civil war going on between two brothers, Sundara Pandya and Veera Pandya. Sundara Pandya and Veera Pandya. These are the sons of Kulashekara Pandya. Their father was Kulasekara Pandya. Kulasekara. And Kulasekara Pandya is the person who built the main shrine, the Garbhagriha, the sanctum sanctorum of the Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple. So the main shrine was built by this Kulasekara Pandya. So his son, so Kulasekara Pandya had died. He had two sons. Sundara Pandya was the eldest son. So he was the eldest son, Sundara Pandya. And Veera Pandya was the second son. And there was a civil war going on. Now, what happened is, when Malik Kafur attacked, there was a civil war going on. He first attacked Bhirdol. This is near Urayur. Urayur was the early capital of the Sangam Cholas. If you remember the Sangam age, Urayur was their early capital, and later Kavaripattanam became the second capital. So, in the Muslim records, we have this area called Bhirdol. Bhirdol, that is near Urayur. So this was the headquarters of Veera Pandya. So Malik Kafur attacked Bhirdol near Urayur in Tamil Nadu, right? And he managed to conquer some of the treasures of confiscated. He managed to confiscate some treasure of Veera Pandya. And Veera Pandya had already run away to Kannur in Kerala. He had run away to Kannur. Then he attacks Mashura. Mashura is the name to Madurai given by the Muslim writers. Mashura. He attacks Mashura. That is Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. And Sundara Pandya had already run away. He was the recognized king, Sundara Pandya. So he was the eldest son. So he had run away from Madurai already with his family and treasure. Now, so Veera Pandya ran away towards Kannur. A part of his wealth was confiscated by Malik Kafur. Then he attacks Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. Sundara Pandya had already decamped from that place, already run away from that place. Then what happened? There's a twist in the tale here. Understand this. We have the uncle of these Pandya brothers, Vikrama Pandya. So we have this man called Vikrama Pandya. Vikrama Pandya. He was the uncle of Sundara Pandya and Veera Pandya. He rallied the Pandyan forces. He brought the Pandyan forces together. And then he gave a tough fight to Malik Kafur and defeated Malik Kafur. Vikrama Pandya was able to defeat Malik Kafur. And it is said that Malik Kafur ran away. He ran away to bring additional forces, but he never came back. And this is the information given by an expert, an authority on South Indian history by name Professor Neelakanta Shastri, K. Neelakanta Shastri, who has done extensive research on the Cholas as well as the Vijayanagar kingdom and also the history of South India. So K. Neelakanta Shastri, the Professor K. Neelakanta Shastri has given us this information. He says that the attack on the Pandyas was not fully successful. The fact that in many books you get this information that Malik Kafur came up to Rameshwaram, he built a victory pillar there, he built a mosque there. He says, Professor K. Neelakanta Shastri says, this is a later day fabrication. There's no truth in this story. So please understand the attack on the Pandyas, and we go completely by what K. Neelakanta Shastri has told us in his writings, the history of South India, a beautiful book written by him. In that book, he says that. So therefore, we go completely by the opinion given by K. Neelakanta Shastri. The attack on the Pandyas was not fully successful. Right? Now, what was the end result of these attacks on South India? South India was drained of its resources. He took away a huge amount of wealth from South India and virtually drained South India of its wealth and resources. So Malik Kafur goes back to North India. He carried away with him huge amount of wealth, including more than 300 elephants, 20,000 horses, and we are told almost about 20,000 talents of gold. 20,000 talents of gold. That is huge amount of gold was carried away. And Alauddin Khalji was indeed impressed. He took a title. Alauddin Khalji took a title after this glorious conquest of Malik Kafur. He took a title Sikandar al Sani. He takes the title of Sikandar al Sani. That is second Alexander. Sikandar al Sani. That is second Alexander. He takes the title of second Alexander or Sikandar al Sani. And he appointed Malik Kafur as Naib Sultan or Deputy Sultan. So Malik Kafur was made Naib Sultan. Naib means Deputy Sultan. So these are the conquests of Alauddin Khalji, extensive conquests of Alauddin Khalji. Are you there with me? So almost the entire India was conquered by him. So you can see here on your screen, go by the, so if you cannot remember the years, don't worry. Remember the sequence of conquests. I told you how to remember with respect to North India, Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor, Malwa, then Marwar or Sivana and Jalore. Then similarly, South India, Maharashtra, Andhra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Remember that way. So here on your screen, you see the Yadava kingdom of Maharashtra ruled by Ramachandra Deva. I told you what happened. You can see on your screen, Ramachandra Deva was taken captive to Delhi. He agreed to pay 1 lakh. He was given 1 lakh gold coins. He gave his daughter Jatyapali in marriage to the Sultan. Jatyapali was given in marriage to the Sultan. Thereupon, he released him. Ramachandra Deva was released. He was given 1 lakh gold tankas, gold coins. The title of Rai-e-Rayan, the Gujarat district of Navsari, has a gift. And he was made the vassal. And according to S. Roy, Devagiri served as the base for Khalji military operations in the Deccan and the far south. Then next attack was on Kakatiyas of Warangal. He carried away huge amount of wealth on 1,000 camels, groaning under the weight of treasure put on their backs. So that's what happened with respect to Warangal. Then we have the attack on the Hoysalas. I told you already, Veera Ballala III was defeated. And then finally, the attack on the Pandyas. So Veera Pandya, Sundara Pandya, they were fighting for the throne. Kafur's army attacked Beardhol, that is near Urayur, the capital of the younger brother, Veera Pandya. But Veera Pandya ran away to Kandur, that is Kannur. And Malik Kafur was able to capture a part of his treasure. Then he attacked Madurai, Mashura, as the Muslim historians tell us, the main capital of the Pandyas. Sundara Pandya had already run away from the capital along with his treasure. But then their uncle, the Vikrama Pandya, fought against Malik Kafur and defeated Malik Kafur. So here you can see this line here. The story of Kafur building a mosque, setting up a victory pillar at Rameshwaram is considered a later-day fabrication. This is opinion given by K. Nilakanta Shastri. So the expedition to the Tamil country. So the Muslim historians call Tamil country as Mabar. They call the Tamil country as Mabar. So it was only a military raid. It was not very successful, according to K. Nilakanta Shastri. The end result, of course, was that South India was drained of its wealth. Are you there with me, all of you? Can you raise your hands? Till now, clear? All of you? Can I continue? Now, look here. Now, who was the king of Devagiri? Who was the king at Devagiri, of the Yadavas of Devagiri? Ramachandra Deva, isn't it? Ramachandra Deva was the king. Ramachandra Deva was the king at Devagiri. He died. So he was the king of Devagiri, of the Yadavas. When Ramachandra Deva died, he was succeeded by his son Shankaradeva. Understand this. He was succeeded by his son Shankaradeva. Shankaradeva. He's also called by the name Singhana the Third. He's also called Singhana the Third. This Shankaradeva or Singhana the Third, once he became the ruler after the death of his father, refused to accept Alauddin as his overlord. or pay tribute to him. He said, I'll not pay tribute. I'll also not agree Alauddin has my overlord. So once he declared this way, you have Alauddin Khalji sending Malik Kafur with an army. So Malik Kafur came to South India. He attacked the Yadava kingdom. Malik Kafur defeated and killed Shankaradeva and annexed Devagiri. So Malik Kafur annexed Devagiri. So please understand, the only kingdom which was annexed to the south was the Yadava kingdom of Devagiri. Yadava's kingdom was annexed by Alauddin Khalji, whereas the other kingdoms were not annexed by Alauddin Khalji. Did you understand? So only Yadava kingdom was annexed. Yadava kingdom was annexed in the south. And this was simply because Shankaradeva refused to accept Alauddin as his overlord or pay tribute to him. Clear? Only Yadava kingdom was annexed, that too after the death of Ramachandradeva. Right. So I have given the details here. Go through it. So Singhana III was killed and Yadava kingdom was annexed. And after this, he took the title Sikandar al-Sani and made Malik Kafur as Deputy Sultan or Malik Naib or Naib Sultan. You can also use the word Naib Sultan. Malik Naib or Naib Sultan, Deputy Sultan. Right. So you please understand, this is an additional note, I have a footnote rather, I have put here. The Turks introduced advancement in military technology. They use the concave saddle, concave saddle. If you have sat on a horse, you have a saddle which is, it has got a sort of a bucket, isn't it? It is like, it is in the shape of like this. It is sitting like this. That is called concave saddle. So you sit firmly in the horse. It is not straight. It is purposely made in that design, so that you sort of sit, into the saddle, and that gives you a lot of grip. Then they use the iron stirrup. Iron stirrup is what? You have the ring. You remember, you have a ring. So you put your 2 feet. You sit on the horse and you lock your legs into the stirrup. So they introduced the iron stirrup and the iron shoe. So that was introduced by the Turks into the military equipage, and later we have many of the southern kingdoms also using these advancement in military technology. And you can see some of the Hoysala sculptures which have shown this. So with the help of the iron stirrup, they could even stand and shoot arrows. So on a galloping horse, they could stand and then shoot arrows at the enemy. So when they stand, they will be able to see much further, isn't it? Like you do saddling on a adventure bike. When you stand and ride, that's called saddling, as you know. Similarly, on a horse, you stand and then ride, and you can also discharge arrows. So that gave an advantage to the Turks, and that was advancement in military technology. Right. Clear, all of you? Can I continue? So let us look at the other reforms of Alauddin Khalji. We have discussed about military conquest. Then we'll come to the reforms. What are the reforms, particularly how he controlled revolts, then his measures against military Hindu chiefs, then his military reforms, revenue reforms, market reforms. So very important, Alauddin Khalji's topic is as part of Delhi Sultanate topic. So we'll come back here. Now, Alauddin Khalji is the person who secularized administration. He separated religion from politics. In other words, he separated religion from politics, separated religion from politics, right? And he told the ulemas to mind their business. Ulemas are who? Ulemas are the Muslim religious teachers. Muslim religious gurus or religious teachers. He said, don't interfere in politics. Your business is religion and spiritual pursuit. You just stick to that. Don't poke your nose into politics. So he separated religion from politics. At the same time, he appointed people based on merit, not on the basis of race. So that resulted in many Indian Muslims. Indian Muslims were called Sheikh Zadas, Hindu converts to Islam, and then Afghans. They also gained heavy important positions in his government. The Hindu converts to Islam, that is the Sheikh Zadas as well as Afghans. So ability and merit was the consideration, not birth or wealth. Then when Alauddin Khalji became the Sultan, what we notice is he noticed that there were a number of rebellions throughout his empire. Throughout his empire, you have a number of rebellions. And he had a council, he had a group of ministers very close to him, and he would discuss whatever important issue was there with those set of ministers. They were called Majlis-e-Khas. Majlis-e-Khas. Khas is, special. Khas means special in Hindi or even in Persian, Urdu. So he had deliberations or meeting with this Majlis-e-Khas. And there, once he discussed with them, he found out that there could be four reasons as to why there were so many rebellions happening in his kingdom. Why so many rebellions were happening? So he identified the causes of the rebellions, first of all. Number one is huge amount of wealth with the officials. So there was a lot of wealth with the nobles and ministers, particularly Muslim nobles and ministers. A lot of wealth is there with them. They were enjoying tax-free land grants. Tax-free land grants called Inam, Milk, Idrar, Waqf. So these are all tax-free land grants. Previous sultans had given away lands as gifts to these nobles, and they don't need to pay any taxes on those lands. Whatever is grown there is theirs. They don't need to pay anything as a tax to the government. So they can sit and enjoy their life, enjoy the benefits accruing from the land. So when you have a lot of wealth and you don't need to work hard for it, you become arrogant. Generally, that's the human nature. You become arrogant, haughty, you're disrespectful. So that is a general trend. So here he noticed that. Number one is too much of wealth with the nobles, and they were enjoying tax-free land grants. Number two, you have uh, social intercourse amongst the nobles. Social intercourse amongst the nobles. That is, they visit each other's houses. They have drinking parties. So social intercourse amongst nobles and drinking parties amongst them. Drinking parties. So, like for example, one noble called A will invite his friends for a party in his house. Okay, so all his friends will come. Okay, all his friends will come. They'll have a nice party where they will drink. And when you drink, what will happen? The mind becomes little loose. The mind becomes loose. Whatever secrets are there comes out, right? And that is where when conspiracies could be hatched against the sultan. So social intercourse amongst the nobles and drinking parties. Then third is marriage. So similarly, another noble will call his friends next day to his house for a party. So this will go on. So all the ministers will congregate in each other's houses. Their families will meet each other. So they become friends, and they'll have drinking parties. And in such parties, whatever is a secret within their mind can come out, and the conspiracies can be hashed against the sultan. Third is marriage compact amongst nobles. Marriage compact amongst nobles. See, Alauddin Khalji was a illiterate. He did not know how to read and write, but he had robust common sense. So with his common sense, he was able to identify why there are so many rebellions. Number one, wealth with the nobles, social intercourse and amongst nobles, and drinking parties amongst them. Marriage compact amongst nobles. For example, one noble will give his daughter in marriage to another noble. So this noble A has a son and B has a daughter. So earlier they were friends, A and B were friends. Now, when they marry their children with each other, they become relations. Okay, so from friends, they have become relations. And in such a scenario, there's a higher possibility of conspiring against the sultan, because everything is kept within the family. So secrets are kept within the family. So then they can also conspire against the sultan. So marriage compact amongst nobles. And number four, the inefficiency of the spy system. The spy system had become inefficient. So these are the four causes identified by Alauddin Khalji with his Majlis-e-Khas. Once he found out the causes for the rebellions, he took corrective measures. So what are the corrective measures he took? First of all, are you there with me, all of you? I hope it is interesting. I hope it is interesting. So he took corrective measures against these rebellions. Now, what are the corrective measures? All those nobles who were enjoying tax-free land grants would lose their tax-free land grants. Inam, Waqf, Idrar, uh, um, all those tax-free land grants were taken away by the government, and they were reduced to penury. How were they reduced to penury? He asked his officers to tax these Muslim nobles heavily. So whatever savings they had, they lost those savings. So whatever wealth they had accumulated, they lost it because they were heavily taxed purposely by the tax officials. So you can see here on your screen four reasons which you've identified for the causes of rebellions. On your screen, general prosperity of his officials, social intercourse and marriage compact amongst them, drinking parties amongst the nobles, and espionage system had become inefficient. He passed four ordinances to contain these causes for rebellions. First of all, he confiscated all the tax-free land grants like milk. Milk means state grant. Inam, state gift, inam. Then Waqf, charitable endowment. And he specifically ordered his officers to rob people of their wealth. So they were heavily taxed. So let us say there's an official called A, right? So he loses all his tax-free land grants, which he has bequeathed from the previous sultans. Then he is heavily taxed. So whatever savings he has, all those savings disappear. So he has no time to think of rebellion. From early morning till late in the night, he has to work so that he can make both ends meet, and he can also maintain his family. So he reduced them to penury. All the officials were reduced to penury. Now that's number one. Number two, he forbade social gatherings. So public were also ordered not to frequent the houses of officials, and no social gatherings amongst the officials. Maliks, amirs, etc., could not invite each other to their houses for parties. And also he introduced prohibition in Delhi and the surrounding areas. So he introduced prohibition in Delhi and the surrounding areas. Oh, we'll come to that. Then intermarriage amongst nobles was banned. Without the permission of the Sultan, two nobles cannot have marriage amongst their family members. So if some noble has a son, he wants that son to marry another noble's daughter. First, they will take the proposal to the Sultan and seek his permission. We want to marry into each other's families. Will the Sultan give us permission, please? If the Sultan says, okay, you can go ahead with the marriage, then the marriage will take place. Otherwise, there will be no marriage. They have to find somebody else for their sons and daughters. So he forbade intermarriages amongst nobles and also forbade social gatherings amongst them. And public were ordered not to visit the houses of officials. This is number two. Third is introduce prohibition in Delhi and the surrounding areas. So here, please understand, drinking parties were frequent amongst the nobles. So um, without drinks, alcohol, generally the party is not a success, and Alauddin Khalji knew that. So therefore, once he introduced prohibition, people did not find it fun to have parties because there's no drinks there. So therefore, he introduced prohibition around Delhi and in Delhi, and also drinking in public, drinking parties, consuming bhang and other mind-altering substances, opium. They were all banned. But later he gave a concession. People could manufacture liquor in their house. They could manufacture wine in their house for self-consumption. So they can get grapes, ferment the grapes, make some wine and drink it and sleep. They cannot feed that wine to the outsiders or have a party in their house. So for private purposes, they can make wine and consume and sleep in the house, not have parties. This is number three. And fourth is he reorganized the spy system. Spies were deputed everywhere. So he appointed different classes of spies. Understand these words, the meaning of these words are administrative terminologies. Barids. Barids were spy officers. So he appointed Barids. Then Muniyas, ordinary spies. Munis, spies. They were deputed everywhere. In the houses of noblemen, officials, officers. So there may be a beggar sitting under a tree in the front of a official's house. He may actually be a spy. but as in the guise of a beggar. He will sit there, he will notice the movement of people, who is coming into that officer's house, who is going out, etc., what's happening. He will collect information. So the servant, the maid servant, the Tonga driver or the Tonga pilot, etc., they may be the masseur, the person who gives massage, etc. They may all be spies, and they will send reports to the sultan on a daily basis, regular basis. The barid would send reports, then the muniyas will send reports, then he'll cross check the reports, he will read those reports given by the barid as well as by the muniya, and he'll see whether they're tallying. So automatically, in other words, please understand, Alauddin Khalji came to know what was happening in each and every official's house, important official's house, what was happening, and automatically revolts disappeared from the empire. So these are the measures he took to contain rebellions, which were frequent during the early part of his reign. This is number one. Are you there with me? Yes, intermarriages among nobles need permission of the sultan. That's what I told you also. Without the permission of the sultan, they cannot go ahead. Ankush, right? So this is number one. Number two, his attitude towards Hindu chiefs. So there were some Hindu chiefs uh, whose attitude invited the wrath of the Sultan, the anger of Alauddin Khalji. So, what was the complaint against these Hindu chiefs? First of all, who are these Hindu chiefs? You have Rais, Ranas, Rawat. Okay, they were hereditary Hindu chiefs. At the same time, Mukaddams, Chaudhries, they were headmen of villages. They were village headmen or groups of villages, headmen of groups of villages. So these are the hereditary revenue officers like Chaudhries, Mukaddams, that is headmen of a village or a group of villages. Kuts were revenue collectors or demanders of tribute. Rais, Ranas, Rawats. So these were hereditary revenue officers who were basically Hindus. Now, what are the complaints against them? Understand this. Now, they were not paying the taxes to the government promptly. So, what are the various taxes they were not paying? Tax evasion from their own lands. So, they had personal lands and they were not paying taxes. So, understand the meaning of these words. Khiraj, that is the land tax. Khiraj is land tax, or Kharaj, land tax. They were not paying land tax on their personal lands. Jizya. Jizya is tax imposed on non-Muslims in a Muslim kingdom. So, tax on non-Muslims. So they were not paying tax, jizya, that is tax on non-Muslims. Ghari, house tax. Ghar, in Hindi, ghar is house. Ghari is house tax. So if you have your own house, you have to pay a house tax. They were not paying any house tax. And chari, fodder tax. Chari is fodder tax. Chara, chara is fodder. Chari, fodder tax. That is tax on milk animal. Fodder tax. That is tax on milk animals like buffaloes, cows, etc. So if I'm an officer, I have 10 cows with me or 10 buffaloes with me, I have to pay tax on the number of animals, on all those animals. That's called chari, fodder tax. Now, these Hindu officials were not paying either the land tax or the jizya or the house tax or the chari or the fodder tax. That is the one. Number two is they levied the perquisites from their own villages, the perquisites of Kut. So has revenue, who's a Kut? Kut is a revenue collector, an official, revenue official. He's called a Kut in those days. And they enjoyed certain privileges. Because of the position they held in the government, they enjoyed some privileges. For example, you have certain privileges given to an army man, a military man, isn't it nowadays? You have the defense stores, so only military people can go there, or um, so they can go there, and you have at a very discounted rate. A lot of things are sold to the families of military men, the armed forces people. That's a privilege they have because of the tough job they are in, where even their life is at risk. Because of that reason, certain perquisites or privileges are given to family members of armed forces, even now. So these tax officials enjoy certain perquisites, right? But then they will make the people of a particular village pay for those perquisites. They'll make them pay. That was another complaint against them. Then they engage in drinking parties, these Hindu officials, and also they will not show the due respect to the revenue collectors. When the revenue collectors came to collect taxes, they will treat them in a high-handed manner. They will disrespect them. They will misbehave with them. So these are the various complaints against Hindu officials. Did you understand? Hello, are all of you clear? So this is the complaint against Hindu officials. And once he comes to know about it, he took corrective measures. What did he do? He took away all their wealth with them. Whatever wealth they had, tax-free land grants they had, he took away all that from them. And they had to pay 50% land revenue. They had to pay 50% land revenue on their personal lands. Similarly, he taxed them heavily so that there was no difference between the ordinary peasant, ordinary balahar, and the tax collector or the khut. Right? So he reduced them to penury almost. So here he abolished all the perquisites, concessions, special privileges they enjoyed. Secondly, they had to pay 50% land revenue. So according to the measurement produced from Biswa, Biswa is a unit of land. A unit of land is called Biswa. So this is, I think, 1/20th of a biga. 1/20th of a biga. Biga is a unit of land. 1/20th of a biga is a Biswa. So he raised the revenue to half of the gross produce. So they had to pay 50% land revenue. The lands were assessed, that is measured, and they had to pay full rent. So there was no difference between the ordinary balahar or the ordinary farmer and the kut revenue collectors. And they also had to pay two new taxes, house tax and the grazing tax. And the house tax and the grazing tax, 18%. Okay, so fine. So about 1/20th of the bigger, 18 is fine. Did you understand? That is, that these are the measures he took against Hindu officials. Clear, all of you? Clear till here? Can I move on? So we have discussed about the various measures he took against rebellions, to contain rebellions. Secondly, the measures to contain the arrogant Hindu chiefs. Third is we come to the revenue reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Revenue reforms. Now, Alauddin Khalji is the person who established the revenue department called Diwani Mustakraj. Diwani Mustakraj. That was the revenue department. Department of Revenue established by Alauddin Khalji. And one of the duties of this department was to collect revenue arrears. It used to collect revenue arrears. What is revenue arrears? Let's say there's a farmer called A. And this year he has not done any agriculture on his lands. Why did he not do agriculture? Let us say he had climbed a tree and he fell down and he broke his leg. So therefore he cannot work on the land. But then when the revenue collectors came, they noticed that he has not done any agriculture because of that reason, because he has broken his leg. So therefore they will note down that in their diary. Next year, this farmer called A has not only to pay the previous year's land revenue, also the next year's land revenue, that year's land revenue. So that is called revenue arrears. Similarly, let us say there's a farmer called A again, and he performed his daughter's marriage. That year he has performed all his daughter's marriage. He has given away all his wealth on his daughter's marriage, spent all his wealth, whatever savings he had. He has no money to pay land tax. So they will not punish that person. They will note down in their diary. Next year, that farmer called A has to pay the previous year's land tax as well as that year's land tax. So one of the duties of this department was to collect revenue arrears. It was manned by various officials. So please try to remember the designation, the meaning of these revenue officials, the designations of theirs. Muhassils, demanders of tribute, demanders of land tax, tribute. Amils, revenue collectors. Gumastas, agents. Mutassarifs, that is accountant or auditors. Udadarani Daftir, persons in charge of offices. And Navisandas, writers or clerks. So these are the various officials manning the department of Mustakraj. Then the Patwari, the village accountant, maintained the basic revenue book called Bihi or Bahi. So even now, the village accountant in a village is the one who maintains the revenue book. So in that book, each farmer, the name of the farmer and the landowner is mentioned. The name of the landowner is mentioned and how much tax is supposed to pay. That is mentioned in that book called Bihi. So that was maintained by the Patwari, the village accountant. And Alauddin Khalji is the first king in the history of India, understand this, to increase the land revenue to 50%. He charged 50% land revenue. Nobody before him had charged 50%. He was the first king in India to charge 50% land revenue. charge land revenue at the rate of 50%. And you might ask why? Why did it charge 50%? One is two reasons. Two reasons are there. One is he had to control the Mongol invasions, Mongol menace. Mongols, maximum number of Mongol attacks happened during his period. And he had to meet the cost of expenditure to fight against these Mongols. And number two is to conquer the whole of India. He wanted to conquer the whole of India. He required money for that. He had to pay his officers and soldiers salaries, adequate salaries, so that they can do the job for him. Conquer the whole of India and also defend the kingdom, defend the empire against Mongol invasions. And therefore, he charged 50% land revenue, right? And then he made the Ghanima and Khams. The ratio proportion was changed. Earlier, the Khams was 20%, king's share was 20%. Now he made Khams 80%. And the soldier share, which was earlier 80%, was reduced to 20%. So war booty, Khams, king's share was made 80%. Khams became 80% now. King's share became 80%. And Ghanima, that is soldier's share, became 20%. These are the revenue reforms of Alauddin Khalji. This way, he increased the revenues of the state. Are you there with me? Clear? Can I continue? All of you? Clear? Now we move on. We come to the military reforms of Alauddin Khalji. The military reforms of Alauddin Khalji, as we have seen, Alauddin Khalji had the largest army during those days. Nobody in India had a bigger army than him. And he brought about certain military reforms. So what are the various military reforms introduced by Alauddin Khalji? First of all, he maintained a regular army. He maintained a standing army. He was not dependent upon feudal levies. What is the meaning of feudal levies? He will not ask the Iqtadars. He will not ask the Iqtadars to send a part of their army to fight the wars. He had his own standing army. And he abolished the Iqta system. So that is number one. So he directly recruited his soldiers, paid them cash salaries. He paid them salaries, cash salaries. Now, look here. The ordinary soldier, foot soldier, that is infantry soldier, was paid 156 tankas per year. 156 tankas per annum. That was a salary of a foot soldier or an infantry soldier. Who's a foot soldier who will fight on the land, on his feet. Infantry soldier. Then we have a soldier, a trooper with one horse. A trooper with one horse. He was paid 234 tankas per annum. One tanka is equal to 48 jitals. One silver tanka is equal to 48 jitals. Who introduced tanka and jital? Hello? Who introduced tanka and jital? Silver tanka, copper jital. Very good, Ankush. Iltatmesh. Brajneet also has answered. Garima, very good. Sudhanshu, great. So one silver tanka is equal to 48 jitals. So he paid a trooper with one horse with 234 tankas per annum. And a trooper with two horses. Understand this? A trooper with two horses was paid 78 tankas extra over and above 234 tankas. So he was paid 234 tankas plus 78. How much is it? 312. So a trooper with two horses was paid 312 tankas per annum. So he paid them very attractive salaries because it is not an easy job to be a soldier or an officer. So a trooper with one horse, 234 tankas. Trooper with two horses, 312 tankas, 78 tankas extra over 234 tankas. Now, why will a trooper maintain two horses? Hello? Understand this, it's a common sense question. Why will a person maintain two horses? Because uh, you know, some troopers maintain two horses, not everybody. So therefore, he paid extra 78 tankas to such a trooper. So after all, the animal, the horse, he's a trooper. Trooper is a soldier who will sit on the horse and fight. He is not an infantry soldier. He has to sit on the horse and he'll fight. Now the horse may be pregnant. Okay, tomorrow there's a war. The horse is pregnant and it's time for delivery. So the horse cannot run because it's not in a position to run. Or let us say the horse is wounded. One of the legs is wounded. It cannot run. So therefore, he will take the spare horse and he'll go to the war. He cannot say, I don't have a horse, I will not come to war. So therefore, some troopers maintain two horses, and therefore they were paid extra. So that is number one. So he paid regular cash salaries. Then you have regular inspections and parades, regular inspection and parade of the army. So it was inspected regularly by the officers, and you have parades to keep the armed forces fighting fit. And then, of course, he introduced the dog and chahara, very novel methods introduced by Alauddin Khalji. One is called dog, branding of horses, and chahara or hulia, descriptive role of soldiers. So let us understand this. Okay? Brajneet, when the person is injured or the horse is injured, when the soldier is injured, bad luck. He has to escape from the war or get his treatment done. If he cannot fight, right? So that's why you have regular parades and inspection of the army. They were kept fighting fit. Um, okay, now look here. What is dog? Dog is branding of horses. Branding of horses. On your screen, you see I have put a picture of a horse being branded. Even now, horses are branded. So branding of horses, something like a tattoo, on the horse. Now, why was this introduced called dog or something like a tattoo on the horse? Because you have many troopers who were duplicating the horses. They were duplicating. Understand this. Now, let me give you an example. So let's say there's a trooper. There's a trooper called A. He's a trooper. That is, he's a trooper. And let's say he's got two horses. So he's maintaining two horses and he's a trooper and he's paid very good salary. He's getting 312 tankas per annum. Per annum, he's earning 312 tankas, very attractive salary. And let's say both his horses died in a span of 10 days. In 10 days, both his horses got some disease and died. Government doesn't know because there are lakhs of soldiers and lakhs of horses. So which trooper lost horses or whose horses died, the government will not know. And this fellow is collecting his salary, right? And wars don't happen every day. Wars happen maybe once in a few months or once in a few years. But then this person is cheating the government. He's collected the full amount, though he has no horses. So therefore, let's say tomorrow there's an inspection. Of the government. They're going to inspect the trooper and his horses. There's an inspection tomorrow. And this fellow called A has a neighbor. His neighbor is B. And this fellow is also a trooper with two horses. He also has got two horses. And A and B are friends. So A will come to B's house. He will borrow his horses. And in the inspection, he will show his friend's horses has his own horses. And he's passed in the inspection. And he'll return the horses back to B. So he is cheating the government. Tomorrow, if there's a war, A has no horses on which he can fight. So it amounts to cheating the government. And Alauddin Khalji knew this. So therefore, every trooper, his name was mentioned in the registry along with his hulia. Hulia means descriptive role of soldiers. Understand this. Nowadays, you have photo ID cards. For example, recently, elections are going on and you're supposed to take your ID card with you, government ID card, driving license or something like that, and then show it to the concerned election official there, and then you can vote. Those days, the technology was not there. So therefore, you have the trooper. Let's say there's a trooper called A, right? There's a trooper called A. He died. He's an officer. Today he died. And the government doesn't know. And let us say this A has a son called B. A has a son called B, and B is a carpenter. He has nothing to do with the armed forces. He's a carpenter. But then he is greedy of his father's salary. So he will put his father's uniform, this B, and he'll go to the treasury and he'll demand, he'll call his father's name, he'll assume his father's name, and then he'll collect the salary and he'll come back. How will the government find out that this person is not A, is actually A's son B? So therefore, this person called A, his description is mentioned that this officer called A looks like this, he is so tall, this is the color of his skin, these are the body marks on his body, birth marks, or he must have got a wound on his body that is seen by everybody. He's got one ear missing. Let's say there's a cut on his cheeks, etc., etc. All the description of that officer is mentioned in the register. And let us say somebody is going there as a proxy, and demanding the salary of A. That will be tallied with the description of A, and that should exactly match the description given in the registry. Only then the salary will be given to that person called A also. Did you understand? That is called huliya or chehra, descriptive role of soldiers, and then dog, branding of horses. So to prevent troopers from duplicating horses, this branding of horses was introduced. Did you understand? This is the innovation introduced into the armed forces by Alauddin Khalji. Gunjan is asking, what if the soldier is pregnant? Uh, here you have, there are no female soldiers, Gunjan. A soldier's family may be, wife may be pregnant, but the soldier has to go to war. Right, Gunjan? Gunjan, there were no females in the army of Alauddin Khalji, only males, right? Did you think they were always also female soldiers? In the Mauryan period, there were female bodyguards in the Mauryan army. We have discussed this, but there were no female soldiers. Very innocent question, Gunjan. But anyway, okay, fine. Nowadays, you have females also in the armed forces, in the Indian Army. So that time, government gives them a leave. Maternity leave is given along with full salary. So you can avail of it, if you join the armed forces, or even if you're a government official and you're a female and you're pregnant and you're due for delivery, that privilege is given to the officials, right? Yeah, Khalji. Hari is asking, Khaljis have approximately about 4.5 lakh soldiers. How they maintain through inspection, everything? Obviously, Hari, we have Indian Army as of now is equally of that size, around 5 lakh soldiers. How will the present government maintain this large army? They're fighting fit. They're kept fighting fit, where regular parades, inspection take place every day. They're made to run. Their exercises are, army exercises are there. So similarly, he also kept his army fighting fit. Okay, so these are the military reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Clear? And then please understand, you have the government, you have state smithies. So all the weapons were made or forged in the smithy. So weapons were forged in the state smithy. And then you have interbreeding of horses. Understand this, interbreeding of horses. What do you mean by interbreeding of horses? So let us say there's an Arabian horse. There's an Arabian horse. Understand, this is common sense. And there's an Indian tattoo, Indian horse. So Arabian horse, taller, faster, because it has got longer legs, faster, more efficient. Arabian horse. Everybody in the army cannot be given Arabian horses. It will be very costly for the government, right? So therefore, let's say the Arabian horse runs 50 kilometers. I'm taking only a hypothetical example. It might run faster or slower. Don't worry about the speed. Let's say it runs 50 kilometers per hour. And the Indian horse has a top speed of 35 or 30 kilometers. Indian horse, let us say, runs 30 kilometers per hour. Then you have they're crossbred. So then you have a hybrid horse. You have a hybrid horse, which is a mixture of Arabian horse and Indian horse. And this hybrid horse will run, let us say, 45 kilometers per hour or 40 to 45 kilometers per hour. It is better than the Indian horse, but not as good as the Arabian horse. So the overall quality of the horse will increase. Did you understand? Okay. Overall quality of the overall quality of the horse will increase. Yeah, no technology on that. Hari, no technology on that. What is the difference between both the horses? Obviously, Baba, Arabian horse is a taller horse, much more faster because of the particular quality of the horse. You know, the taller, faster, etc. That is Arabian horse, and the Indian horse is shorter in stature. Therefore, it will not run as fast as the Arabian horse. When you mix the two, you'll have a hybrid horse. Okay, Ankush has a very nice way of putting it. Then Europeans say Mendel discovered genetics. Okay, good joke, Ankush. Sir, I'm having bad times. Can you tell me how to overcome my anger? Uh, I'm discussing Alauddin Khalji, sir. Are you angry with that? Azhar, okay, you mail me. We'll see what I can do. Azhar, jokes apart, right? So these are personal things, Azhar, but then mail me. You know my mail address, Azhar. Hmm? Azhar, okay, you please mail me. Uh, let's have a chat. Mail bataye, okay. See, anger is always preceded by a thought, isn't it? You cannot be angry without a thought. So, Vijay Kumar at the rate of byju's.com. All small letters, Azhar, right? So, you watch your thoughts and then accordingly, we'll talk about it. Sakshi group telegram, that is in the process. I have sent your mail to the management team. We will discuss about it. Okay, we'll come back here. Did you understand? So, he increased the overall quality of the horses this way. Then we come to market reforms. Understand this? Market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Now, this is the most important topic as in the Alauddin Khalji's segment. Most important segment of Alauddin Khalji's topic, rather. Now, look here. The market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Market reforms. Now, let us understand these market reforms. Now, look here. Alauddin Khalji introduced market reforms. Now, what are these market reforms of Alauddin Khalji? Now, we have seen this. He paid very attractive salaries to his soldiers. His soldiers and officers were given very good salaries. Soldiers and officers. And he had to keep these two sections of his army very, very happy. Why? Because he wanted to conquer the whole of India. He wanted to conquer India, the whole of India. At the same time, protect the empire from Mongol menace, from Mongol attacks. So these two jobs had to be done only by his army, and he wanted to keep his army happy. He was not bothered about anybody. He was not bothered about anybody. He only wanted to keep his army and his soldiers and officers happy. And the main reason why he introduced market reforms was for that purpose, to keep his army happy, to keep his army happy. That is the reason why he introduced market reforms. Now let us understand his idea behind market reforms. Now we have seen this. Ordinary foot soldier was paid 56 tankas, 156 tankas per annum. So an infantry soldier was paid this much, 156 tankas per annum. Then a trooper with one horse was paid 234 tankas per annum. And one with two horses was paid 312 tankas. per annum. Now, he paid them very good salaries. You all know that. Now, please understand, there's something called inflation. And Alauddin Khalji knew about it. There's something called inflation. So, for example, if I take a hypothetical example, 1 kg tomato, 1 kg tomato, let us say, is rupees 10 now. Rupees 10, right? But then after a month, this 1 kg tomato may be 100 rupees. It may be 100 rupees, right? And then after 2 months, it may be 50 rupees or 75 rupees. So there'll be fluctuation in the prices of essential commodities. And what will a soldier and an officer require? He will require food grains, meat, dry fruits. Many of them kept slaves. Many of them bought horses or slaves or cattle, bullocks, cows, etc. Then they will eat dry fruits, fruits, vegetables, etc. Whatever is required on a daily basis for a soldier or an officer. So, if the prices of all these essential commodities keep on fluctuating regularly, then what will happen? He thought the soldier and the officer cannot save much. He cannot save his salary much. And when he cannot save his salary, then he will be dissatisfied, disgruntled, because he cannot maintain his family with the salary he's getting because of the fluctuation in the prices of essential commodities. Having noticed that and thought about it, Alauddin Khalji introduced market reforms. So, as part of this market reforms, what did he do? Understand this. What did he do? He ordered all the traders and merchants to register themselves in the commerce ministry. So let us say I'm a trader. Let us say all of you in the class are traders, including myself. So we have to go and register our names in the commerce ministry. So our names are there. Then he ordered these traders and merchants to keep their families on the outskirts of Delhi. So he told them, you shift your houses to the outskirts of Delhi and you keep your families there. Then he told those merchants and traders, every day from the villages, from the countryside, from the villages, you have to bring a certain amount of quantity of goods every day, different quantities of goods of different items, fruits, vegetables, cereals, pulses, meat, dry fruits, and so on and so forth. So everybody, all the merchants and traders had to bring every day a required quantity of goods regularly to Delhi and the surrounding areas. If they fail to do so, he told those merchants and traders that their families will be harmed. That is the reason why he had seen to it that the families of the merchants and traders are shifted to the outskirts of Delhi. So the soldiers will go there and they'll harm the families of the merchants and traders. So they were very scared. Nobody wants their families to be harmed, isn't it? So diligently they had to bring a certain quantity of goods from the countryside, from the villages to Delhi and the surrounding markets and keep it there. Then in every mohalla or locality in Delhi, he opened provision stores, fair price shops, ration shops in every mohalla or locality of Delhi. So that, you can go to the neighboring street and the soldier or officer can go to the neighboring street and pick up whatever he wanted. He can buy whatever he wants. There's no dearth of or shortage of goods, essential commodities. Then he prevented hoarding. He told the transport merchants, the caravan merchants, not to hoard the goods and create artificial scarcity that way. So they were prevented from hoarding the goods. They had to bring all the goods to Delhi and put it in the market. Then he established four markets. One is called the Mandi, the general market. And you have a market controller who was appointed there called Shuna. Therefore, it's called Shuna-i Mandi. Mandi is a market, as you all know. In Hindi, Mandi is a market. So now a market controller, an officer called Shuna, was appointed there. Then he opened another market, Sarai Adal market. Okay, then we have another market for cattle, horses, and slaves. You get only cattle, horses, and slaves in that market. And fourth market was for general merchandise. So you get everything there: lamp oil, okay, dry fruits, meva, and so on and so forth. So four types of markets were opened. Then he appointed barids. Understand this? He appointed barids, that is spy officers. Spy officers were appointed, and Munias. Munias are ordinary spies. So spy officers were Barids, and Munias or ordinary spies were deputed in the markets. And he ordered these Barids and Munias to send independent reports every day to him, to the Sultan. So Barid will notice whatever is happening in the market, what are the rates, what all happened in the market from morning till evening, and he'll make a report. At the end of the day, the Barid will send his report to the Sultan, Alauddin Khalji. Then the Munia will make his report, and then he will send the report to the Sultan. The Shunai Mandi, the market controller, will also make his own report, and he will send it to the Sultan. The Sultan read all the three reports, and then he will cross-check whether all the details are matching, right? Whether everything is matching. Now, you have the officials of the market. They were deputed in the various corners of the market with their weighing scales. And let us say somebody has bought 1 kg rice or 1 kg sugar. Let's say 1 kg sugar somebody has bought, and he is coming back from the market. So the market officials will notice that person carrying something with him. So they'll call him. What is there in this bag? They'll ask. Let's say he says 1 kg sugar. So they will take that 1 kg sugar, and they have their own weighing scales, government weighing scale. They will cross check the weight. And let's say instead of 1 kg, a particular shopkeeper has sold only 900 grams to that man, to that customer. That means he has cheated that customer of 100 grams of sugar. So that shopkeeper is identified. So this fellow will show that customer who has bought 1 kg sugar will identify that shopkeeper. So that shopkeeper is arrested. And what will the officials of Alauddin's government do? They will cut away 100 grams of flesh from the shopkeeper's body. And from where they cut, it is up to them. So it was very common to notice people missing their limbs in the market. So some shopkeeper might have lost some of his fingers, somebody might have lost his wrist, somebody's nose is missing, somebody's ear is missing, etc. Because that person has cheated that much amount of weight when he has sold a particular good. So that much amount of flesh was taken away from the shopkeeper's body. So these are the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. And what we notice is the prices never fluctuated throughout the year. The prices remained the same. The prices remained the same throughout the market. And who were happy? The people of Delhi were happy. The soldiers and officers of Alauddin Khalji's armed forces were happy. And who suffered? The people in the countryside, the villagers suffered. Because that's why it is said the city was bled, but the country was bled. The city was fed. The city was fed, whereas the countryside bled. People in the villages were suffering. And at the same time, please understand, he saw to it that even grains are collected from the Khalisa lands in kind. Khalisa land is what? Khalisa land is crown land. Khalisa land. Khalisa land means crown land. That is, whatever is grown here directly goes to the Sultan. It is tax-free. So many Indian kings had their own crown lands. It's called Sita. Sita means crown land. So, from the Khalisa lands or crown lands, he collected taxes in kind, and many times he also collected taxes or food from his vassals, feudal lords or vassals. From their kingdoms, he collected food. So the prices remained steady throughout the rule of Alauddin Khalji, and even after he was no more there. It is considered to be a wonder of the age. The market reforms of Alauddin Khalji are considered to be a wonder of the age. And so who are the happiest people? The officers and soldiers of his army, and the people of Delhi were very happy, whereas the people of the countryside were suffering. These are the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. Did you understand? Okay, did you understand? Market reforms. So let us discuss this on your screen. Why Ankush is asking why Alauddin Khalji didn't try to conquer outside India after conquering South India, or he got involved in home affairs. Probably he never thought beyond India, because India was itself a huge country. So, but he called himself as Sikandar al-Sani, second Alexander. And to conquer almost the whole of India was no small achievement, isn't it? And he maintained control. Till he died, he maintained control over his far-flung empire. Only the deep south was not fully conquered. The Pandyas we have seen were not fully conquered by the army of Alauddin Khalji. Otherwise, almost the whole of India was conquered. So he ruled only for 20 years, and he probably never thought of conquering areas outside India. Muhammad bin Tughlaq thought. I'll come to Muhammad bin Tughlaq tomorrow. I think almost run out of time, but we'll come back here. Let us discuss market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. So what are the idea behind market reforms? To control and regulate the prices of grain, cloth, other necessities of life, and so as to enable the soldiers to live comfortably on a mere pittance. So he fixed the prices of these essentials: food grains, pulses, cloth, slaves, cattle, horses, etc. Whatever is required by a soldier and an officer on a daily basis. The prices were fixed, right? Then he established 4 markets at Delhi. What are the 4 markets? The Mandi, the central grain market, controlled by a Shuna. So there was a market controller in charge here. Then Sarai-e-Adal, where you get cloth, sugar, herbs, that is Nabat, dry fruits, meva, butter and lamp oil, Rugan-e-Chirag, etc. So these are all available in the Sarai-e-Adal market. Then third market, market for horses, slaves and cattle, and general market for other commodities. In every mohalla, that is locality of Delhi, he opened a grocer's shop, a ration shop or provision store. Then he collected revenue in kind from the Khalisa lands, crown lands. Then merchants were asked to sell, farmers were asked to sell goods directly to the merchants authorized by the state. So there was no middleman involved. They cannot sell goods to the middlemen, only to the merchants authorized by the state. And all merchants, I told you, had to register themselves with the Commerce Ministry, and they had to bring a certain quantity of grain, different types of articles every day to Delhi. Then if a merchant sold a commodity underweight, that amount of flesh was cut off from his body. So you have transport merchants, Saudagari, Karavani, market merchants, Saudagari, Bazari. They were not permitted to hoard the grains, so that there's no artificial scarcity created. Then we have these above regulations strictly enforced by a Diwani Riyasat, an officer called Diwani Riyasat, a Shahnahi Mandi, and also a judge called Sarai Adal. Right? So only the army and incidentally the population of Delhi were benefited by these regulations. So therefore, the saying, the capital was fed while the country at large was bled. So these are the market reforms of Alauddin Khalji. I have discussed that in detail. Alauddin Khalji was an illiterate man, but then he patronized a number of scholars. One was Amir Khusru. Amir Khusru was given the title of Tut-e-Hind, the parrot of India. So this is the title given to Amir Khusru. He was the greatest scholar of during the period of the Delhi Sultanate. Amir Khusru, he wrote a number of books. We'll come to that in some time. Amir Khusru, he is supposed to have invented a number of ragas. He invented a number of ragas, singing ragas like Ayman, Ghora, Sanam. So these are the various ragas invented by Amir Khusru. Amir Khusru is supposed to be the inventor of this musical instrument called sitar. So sitar is supposed to have been invented by Amir Khusru. And he was given the title of Parrot of India by Alauddin Khalji. And also Amir Hassan. He patronized Amir Hassan. So then he constructed a few buildings. Alauddin Khalji constructed a few buildings like these. Siri Fort, the fort of Siri, the second city of Delhi, was founded by Alauddin Khalji. Mahal Hazar Situn. Mahal Hazar Situn, that is a palace with 1,000 pillars. So that was constructed by him. Alai Darwaza, the entrance to the Qutub Minar complex called Alai Darwaza, and an incomplete Minar. So he had planned a tower twice the height of the Qutub Minar. Qutub Minar was so if I ask you a question, who built Qutub Minar? Hello, who built Qutub Minar? Give me one answer. Who built Qutub Minar? Ankush says Iltutmish. Hari says Aibak. Mehtab says Iltutmish. So the answer is Iltutmish. Understand this, please. Whoever completed the building, somebody might have begun a building or a monument, but whoever completes it, the credit goes to him. So Iltutmish was the one who completed it. Therefore, it was built by Iltutmish. The foundation was laid by Aibak. So the answer is Iltutmish. Now look here. Iltutmish had built the Qutub Minar. So it is 73 meters in height. Alauddin Khalji planned a minar twice the height of the Qutub Minar, and already he began the construction. Only the first tower was built, the first story was built, and the first story itself is 70 feet. But he could not see its completion. Alauddin Khilji died. In 1316, he died. So look at the monuments built by Alauddin Khilji. This is the Siri Fort. It is in ruins. This is the second city of Delhi, the Siri Fort. This is Mahal Hazar Situn, Palace of Thousand Pillars. This is again in ruins. This is the Alai Darwaza, the entrance gateway to the Qutub complex built by Alauddin Khilji. This is the Alai Darwaza. It has a horse keel arch. This is called a horse keel arch. When I come to art and architecture, we'll talk about it. This has got a horse keel arch. And this is the tower he planned opposite the Qutub Minar, twice the height of it. But then he could only see the completion of the first story. It is 70 feet in height. The first story itself is 70 feet in height. He died. Okay, Alauddin Khilji died in 1316. Okay, now, right, this is about Alauddin Khilji. Any doubts, any clarifications required? Any doubts, any clarifications? Right, I have another 4 minutes. Why their buildings were not maintained? No archaeological department, Sakshi. Why would anybody bother to maintain it? It has to be self-made. It should be built so strong that it is, self-maintainable, right? Clear? No doubts. Who will maintain it? Why should they bother? Alauddin Khilji has built it, so he should have found somebody to maintain it. I mean, because of weathering over a period of time, they have deteriorated, and they are in ruins, almost ruins now. Yeah, like Gupta and Ashoka pillars. Ashokan pillars have lasted so many years, including the Gupta iron pillar. So something like that would have lasted, I suppose, made of stone. But then these are made of bricks, therefore they have not lasted. And who will maintain them? Okay, no, nobody, no. Malik Kafur did not become Sultan. No, we'll come back here. What happened to Alauddin Khilji? Understand this? Alauddin Khilji died in 1316. What happened towards the end of his reign? So he was towards the end of his life. He was beset with a lot of medical problems. Once Alauddin Khilji died in 1316, we have Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur seized the government in his hands. Malik Kafur, who was Naib Sultan, he seized the government in his hands. Seized the government in his hands. He appointed the son of Alauddin Khilji, one of the sons of Alauddin Khilji, as the Sultan, that is Shihabuddin. Shihabuddin, who was Shihabuddin? Son of Alauddin Khilji and Kamala Devi, isn't it? Son of Alauddin Khilji and Kamala Devi. He was a 6-year-old boy. So 6-year-old boy, he was placed on the throne by Malik Kafur, and he arrested another son and put him in prison. Another son of Alauddin Khilji was Qutbuddin Mubarak Khilji. Qutbuddin Mubarak Khilji. This Qutbuddin Mubarak Khilji was arrested and imprisoned by Malik Kafur, and Malik Kafur got Khizar Khan murdered. Khizar Khan was the who was made the governor of Chittor, isn't it? And Chittor was called Khizrabad. And Khizar Khan is the person who married Devala Devi, the daughter of Kamala Devi. So Khizar Khan was killed. Another son called Qutbuddin Mubarak Khilji was arrested and imprisoned, and Shihabuddin was placed on the throne by Malik Kafur. But then please understand, within 100 days after the death of Alauddin Khilji, we had the personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khilji. They noticed the behavior of Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur was ill-treating the royal family. He was behaving in a high-handed manner. So within 100 days after the death of Alauddin Khilji, the personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khilji murdered Malik Kafur. They killed him, the personal bodyguards of Alauddin Khilji. Thereupon, you have Qutbuddin Mubarak Khilji, who came out of prison. He came out of prison, acted as a regent. that is as a caretaker to Shihabuddin. And when he found an opportunity, this Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji murdered Shihabuddin and he became the next sultan. Right? I think I run out of time. I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow from Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji onwards. Are you there with me? Yeah. So I'll continue from Qutbuddin Mubarak Khalji. He was the son of Alauddin Khalji, who succeeded soon after the death of Alauddin Khalji. Temporarily, Shihabuddin ruled. Qutbuddin Mubarak acted as a regent to him, killed him, and then he became the Sultan. I'll continue. Tomorrow I'll finish Delhi Sultanate and we will cover substantial portion of Mughal Empire, including Akbar, the Mansabdari system, the religious policy of Akbar, the administrative innovations introduced by Akbar, etc. So, very interesting topic tomorrow. So, be ready for it. I've run out of time. You have a good night's sleep. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock. Thank you. Any doubts, please mail me. Any clarifications, mail me. Okay, thank you. And Azhar, please mail me. We'll discuss why you are getting angry. Good night. Thank you.